that we can see internationally and begin the programs and the proceedings of the day. Arise, prisoners of starvation, arise, daughters of the air, for is in thunders new creation, till the better world in bed, never more tradition shall bind us. Arise, daughters no more evil, earth shall rise on new foundation. We are but not, we shall be born. Then comrades come running, tis the last fight we face. The Internationale unites the human race. Then comrades come running, tis the last fight we face. The Internationale unites the human race. Amanda, forward to socialism, forward. Comrades, you can please take your seats without any waste of time. Let me take this opportunity to invite our Deputy National Chairperson, Comrade Tula Smith, who will do the official opening of this gathering. Comrades, you will bear with us because of the weather. We'll try to move as quickly as possible. So please bear with us. I'm also pleading with those comrades who will be given an opportunity to give messages of support. That a message of support should not be more than 3 minutes. If it's more than 3 minutes, it's no longer a message of support, but it is a main address. So Comrade Tulas, please come and open the gathering for us.
Amanda! Amanda! Viva the SACP, viva! Forward to socialism, forward! Forward to socialism, forward! Socialism is the future. Socialism is the future. Build it now! Viva the ANC, viva! Viva Kosatu, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Amanda! Hands in the corruption pants, eh? Forward with transformation of the economy, forward! Amanda! Thank you very much, Program Co-Director, Comrade Dr. Amanda Khate. I'm going to set the example in opening this because we have talked about 3 minutes. Let me recognize the leadership of the vanguard of the Communist Party led by its General Secretary, Comrade Solima Paila, together with the Central Committee members who have been organizing this. Let me also recognize the Gauteng leadership, which has been very central to this leadership of the party, under the leadership of Comrade Jacob Mamabulo, the Provincial Secretary. Let me also recognize the ANC led by its president today. We are very lucky because we have never had presidents coming here. Let me also recognize ayilothuka upresident siyayichaza nje ibiyinhle nto. Let me recognize the leadership of COSATU. I've noted the General Secretary of COSATU, together with the Vice President of COSATU, Vice President, the leadership of SANCO is also here. And all the mass democratic movement, the various, the YCL, the leagues, all of them, we are all recognized comrades. We always meet annually in this fight to commemorate the great leader, Comrade Joe Slovo. And we always come here and do a lot of reflection on where we're coming from for the past 30 years. What have we done? What have we not done? But clearly, there's a lot we've done, comrades. But there's a lot which we need to do. We will reflect on that. I will leave everything to the General Secretary, who will be the main speaker of the day. All I want to say, comrades, with this very short talk, I'm opening now, opening for all the speakers, but they must respect the program directors. You listen carefully to the messages, because these are the messages which are going to take us forward. What is very clear in this country, we might have had, or we might have the political freedom, but we don't have the economic freedom yet. What we are noticing, those who oppressed us are starting to be arrogant now. And how do we deal with those issues? The issue of economic empowerment, economic freedom is very key. We will leave everything to the speakers. Messages of support were going to be very strict. If you don't comply, we'll simply come, comrades. That's what we are going to do. Thank you very much, Comrade Manta, the chairperson of the province. Ututeni, bati shalan pants, yegani media le, thank you, comrades.
Thank you very much, Comrade Tulas. I thought you were going to give him a round of applause. Mainly for being brief. Now, comrades, we are aware that comrades at the back are CSO. We are aware. We are doing everything in our powers to try and get speakers for that corner and that corner. Our technical team, rest assured, is working on it. Not very long, the problem would be resolved. But comrades, because of the time pressure that we have, we can't wait for speakers. So what we'll do, we'll proceed with the program while we are trying to solve the technical problem. Without any waste of time, let me call to the podium the Provincial Secretary of the Communist Party, of the South African Communist Party here in Gauteng, Comrade Jacob Mamabolo, to do a brief welcome address on behalf of the province.
Amanda! Viva ANC, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SANCO, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva Young Communist League, viva! Royal Lion Throw! Malibongwe! Amanda! Tata SACP, Tata! Thank you very much, Comrade Provincial Chair, Dr. and Professor Manda Hatebe. Comrades, I've been directed by the Provincial Executive Committee, our PEC, to extend our revolutionary greetings, express a word of welcome, and of course, greet all of you, comrades. But let me convey our sincere special greetings and welcome as we put our hands to say Happy New Year to our General Secretary, Comrade Soli Mapaila. Happy New Year, cheers, Happy New Year. Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, building on what the chair, Deputy Chair Comrade Tuda said, it is indeed a great honor to greet and of course welcome the President of the African National Congress, who is also the President of our country, Tate Cyril Ramaphosa. Long live President Cyril Ramaphosa, long live. Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, without any much ado, we are very much pleased to extend our revolutionary greetings to our class ally, COSATU, the Federation, and of course, all its affiliates and the entire membership of COSATU. Viva COSATU, viva! Forward to worker unity, forward! Comrades, we are also deeply honored to welcome and acknowledge the leadership of SANCO that is here with us. Krina Mtali, Krina! Ro Young Lions Ro! Manibongwe! To all the NEC of the NC, all our party officials, and of course all Central Committee members, would like to extend our greetings. Comrade Madala Masuku is going to our first Deputy General Secretary, is going to acknowledge all the guests, but allow me, comrades, to also extend our revolutionary greetings to the family of Comrade Joe Slovo, to all our veterans and stalwarts that are here with us, and of course, we would like to take this opportunity, comrades, to also greet all of you, comrades, who are here. We also want to thank you that once more, comrades, very early in the year, you came to remember, to honor, to commemorate the militant life of Comrade Joe Slovo. But also, comrades, allow me to greet and acknowledge Comrade Africa, the District Secretary in Linda Chavani. We must acknowledge him. He is the hosting District Secretary. Let us also acknowledge that the Mayor of the city of Joburg, the regional chair of the ANC, Comrade Tata and his leadership are here. Long live the Mayor, long live. Comrades, lastly, if I don't acknowledge the Premier of the province and the leadership elites, I might have to step aside. Let me acknowledge, comrades, let's welcome the provincial chairperson of the ANC, Comrade Panyaza Nisufi. Panya Panya. Viva Comrade Panyaza, viva! Viva Comrade Panyaza, viva! Amanta! Amanta! Thank you very much, comrade. Oi, oi! I think the chair of the ANC is most welcome and appreciated. Comrades, to all the media houses that are here, to all of you, compliments of the new year, Happy New Year, best wishes. You are most welcome, comrades. Amanda! Thank you very much, comrades. Thank you.
Viva Kulube, viva! Long live the undying spirit of Petros Linda Chabane, long live! Thank you very much, Nopala. Without any waste of time, one of the problems that we normally have is when the comrades make the supposed messages of support, they start to acknowledge everyone. So we want to deal with the thing up front by calling Comrade Matala Masugu the first DGS to come and acknowledge everyone who is important, who is here, so that when you send your message of support, you can rise on that established protocol. So, Comrade Matala, please come over so that you can do that item.
Mandla! Mandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Viva Fasimba, viva! Comrade GS, I'm standing to acknowledge your presence as a host of this event, together with your officials, the National Treasurer, Comrade Joyce Moloi, the second DGS, Comrade why am I? Comrade Masondo, Dr. Masondo, Comrade Deputy Chair, Comrade Deputy Chair, and we also have Central Committee members, the ones that have decided on the convention here. We've got Comrade Polibushelo, who is here, Comrade Lichisa, who is here, Comrade Jenny Shiraina, Comrade Niko, Comrade Bulelwa Tunisa, Comrade Mabuse Mpe, Comrade Mlu, Relanga, Comrade Fisani Shabangu, Comrade James Numalo, Comrade Puti Manamed. So to you, members of the Central Committee, guests that we have invited today that have arrived. We have from COSATU, Comrade, we have from the ANC, the president has already been acknowledged, and we have the chair of the province, Comrade Panyaza Lisufi, who is asking to be released earlier because he has to go and join the activities in the Western Cape. We've got the regional chair, Comrade Dada Morero. We've got members of the NEC, Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, Comrade Nobantu, Ralihoko, Comrade. We also have Comrade Jeff Hatebe, who is a former NEC member and also a former Central Committee member of the party. From COSATU, we have Comrade Duncan Luvuno, the second deputy president, who is going to speak to you later on. We have got Comrade Gerald Twala, the COSATU DGS. We then have amongst us also international guests. Among them, we have got Comrade Mangoba Mota of the CPS, the Communist Party of Southland, and we also have Comrade. We also have Comrade the Charge d'Affaires of Palestine, Comrade Hassan Hussein, who's going to speak to us later on. We also have Charge d'Affaires of Sahrawi Embassy. We have Comrade of the embassy, Comrade Mulay Mohammed Fadal. We also have Comrade Ambassador of Venezuela, Comrade Carlos, and then Comrade GS. You have asked us as a build-up to have an interaction with families of departed cadres. We have a family of who are today your special guests, the family of Bani Mulukwane. They are here today, and we also have a family of Comrade Sibia, and we have a family of Comrade Jerry Simodi, Comrade Linda Jabane family. We had an engagement with them. There are interesting things that are coming up. They are appreciating that the movement still recognize that they are there, and also the party's interaction with them. And additional to that, they are asking that we should actually support them in initiative that they want to keep legacy of the family of the various families, and we agree that we are going to follow that one up. And there are also issues that they are raising in relation to how we deal with issues of benefits of families, and those include also the issue, Comrade President, that you are the amendment of the Act of the beneficiaries of the former military veterans. There are things there that are problematic, especially those that were younger and they didn't have wives, they didn't have children, and they are cut off because the previous act was saying you must have an immediate family, and then it creates a problem in managing those. They said we must pay attention to that. We have also agreed with them that we are going to have a session working also with MK LMV. We are going to have a session with all the fallen heroes somewhere in July to have a discussion to check with them whether they are well or not. We also have amongst us, beside that, also Comrade, one of those families also is Comrade, they also asked us to have programs. One of the programs that they are having is that to keep the legacy. They also said we mustn't speak, we may not have to stick too much to also political programs. We must stick also, deal also with other social programs. For instance, there's a stronger view that some of them, family of Bani Mulukwane, the family of Jerry Sebuti, they are saying to us, can we have cultural event and sporting event in honor of them, because that's how they were living in the community. We must connect them in that way. So those are the families that we're sending to you. We have also today, the president of SASCO is here, Comrade Alungile Kamte. We have also Comrade from Sanko, Comrade, the leadership of Sanko. They have given me a name here, but I'm worried I don't see. Okay, I don't see the name that they have given me here. So we're going to change that and give you the right name. So, comrades, should we have left out anybody here, we are going to come back and acknowledge them. But want to also say that amongst your guests, GS, is members of the community that are here, is members of the movement and members of ANC, members of the Youth League, members of the YCL, members of the party. They are here to come and listen to the message in the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of Comrade Joe Slovo. Manda!
Acknowledgements. Now, comrades, we have been formally welcomed. We have acknowledged everyone that is important that is here. We are now, without any waste of time, we are beginning with our 3 messages of support. 3-minute messages of support. The first 2 from the international front, I'm going to call the Communist Party of Swaziland, Comrade Mangaba, to come in front to give your message. As you come to the front, I want to call Comrade Pasam from the
Embassy of Palestine to also come to the front and be here so that when Comrade Mangoba is done, Comrade Basam can also give us a free message on behalf of the people of Palestine.
Style. Phansi ngetikhundla phansi.
Viva SACP, viva! Viva Kosatu, viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva YCLSA, viva! Comrades, Lome, standing before you, Mangoba Mota from the Communist Party of Swaziland. So, comrades, I will just go through the message from the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Swaziland. As it reads, dear comrades, in the spirit of revolutionary solidarity, the Communist Party of Swaziland extends its warmest greetings to the South African Communist Party as you commemorate the enduring legacy of Comrade Joe Slovo, a stalwart of our collective struggle for justice, equality, and socialism. This commemoration serves as a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made by countless individuals in the pursuit of freedom and dignity for all. Joe Slovo was more than just a leader. He was a beacon of hope for many who sought liberation from the shackles of apartheid. His life was characterized by the tireless commitment to fight against oppression, and his unwavering dedication to the principles of socialism continues to inspire us in our own struggle. Comrade Slovo's vision for a liberated South Africa resonates deeply with our aspirations for free, democratic Swaziland, where the rights of all citizens are upheld and where the wealth of our nation is shared equitably amongst its people. Comrade Slovo understood that liberation extends beyond mere political freedom. It encompasses economic justice and social equality. He recognized that the struggle for liberation is a multifaceted endeavor, one that requires the active participation of the masses. As we reflect on his contributions, we are reminded of our responsibilities to carry forward his ideals. His belief in the power of grassroots activism and the mobilization of the working class serves as a guiding light for our own efforts. The ongoing struggle in Swaziland, comrades. Today, as we face the challenges of authoritarianism, economic inequality, and social injustice in Swaziland, we draw strength from the solidarity of our comrades in South Africa. Our nation is grappling with a regime that seeks to suppress, dissent, and stifle the voices of the marginalized. As we reflect on his contribution, Comrade Slovo, comrades, the people of Swaziland continue to endure oppression, and the need for mass mobilization has never been more urgent. We are witnessing increasing instances of police brutality, police repression, and economic hardship. The youth, who represent a significant portion of our population, are particularly affected by high unemployment rates and lack of opportunities. Comrades, in this context, it is imperative that we unite our efforts and amplify our calls for justice and equality. So, comrades, we believe that our shared history and common goals can strengthen our movement. Let us work together to honor the legacy of Comrade Joe Slovo, and by continuing the fight for just and equitable society. In these challenging times, it is crucial that we stand together, not only in our words, but also in our actions. As we conclude, we reaffirm our commitment to the principles of socialism and the liberation of our people. We look forward to your support and collaboration in our mass mobilization campaign as a Communist Party, and together we believe that we can build a brighter future for our nations and ensure that sacrifices of our heroes like Comrade Joe Slovo are never forgotten. Let us remember, comrades, that the struggle for liberation is not merely a historical event. It is an ongoing journey that requires our unwavering dedication and collective action. As we commemorate Joe Slovo, let us also commit ourselves to the ideals he championed and the vision he had for a just society. Together we can forge a path toward a world where equality, justice, and freedom reign supreme. Long live socialism, long live. Long live the spirit of Comrade Joe Slovo, long live. Phansi ngetingudla phansi. Phansi ngomswati phansi. Manda.
Awethu. Comrades, without any waste of time, we are going to call on stage Comrade Basam from the Embassy of Palestine to give us his message. Free, free Palestine!
Viva South Africa, viva! Viva Palestine, viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva Communist Party, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Dear comrades, allow me in the first to greet His Excellency Sir Ramaphosa, the President of South Africa and President of ANC. Also, dear comrades, Soli Mabaila, the Secretary General of Communist Party, all protocol observed. On behalf of the Palestinian people, with its political leadership and ambassador, we highly appreciate South Africa's courage steps to prosecute Israel before the International Courts of Justice as well as before the International Criminal Court. We also thank you for all solidarity position and progressive decision, whether at the level of presidency of Republic of South Africa, the level of government, the level of the progressive parties, especially the ANC with Alliance. And we highly appreciate all the decisions of Communist Party regarding Palestine, especially the last resolution last November. Allow me to express our sincere appreciation for inviting us to the 30th commemoration of the great leader Joe Slovo. In this occasion, we salute the struggle of all freedom fighters and all free South Africans who achieved freedom and dignity for the great people. And we express our deep pride in the historical struggle relation between our two peoples. Dear comrades, the war crimes committed by the barbaric Zionist army today and settlers, gangs killing tens of thousands of civilians and destroying villages, refugees camps, and cities, also to ban UNRWA. It's to implement so-called the nation-state law, which ensure that Israel is the home of Jewish people only. All the proposed solution from the Israeli side ongoing negotiation to end the genocide against our people in Gaza are being used by Israel to impose Bantustan system and to divide Gaza into 3 parts after creating chaos there, starving people, destroying all aspects of life. Today, Israel is continuing to work to transform the West Bank into other Gaza, coinciding with the rise of President Trump, who dreams to achieving the deal of the century, which not met any international legitimacy resolution to achieve just peace and security in the Middle East. Also, Israel started to attack our 1.8 million Palestinian people who living inside Israel before the Nakba, to preparing for uprooting them. The Israeli politicians consider them as the 8th front which Israel is fighting. Dear comrades, the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, has worked during the past 2 years to issue the advisory opinion from International Court of Justice regarding ending the occupation within a year, and then issue the General Assembly resolution in this regard. This is the Palestinian National Freedom Project and not Bantustan system. We affirm our refusal of interference of regional and international actors in our internal and independent Palestinian decision. Dear comrades, we appeal the international community to put pressure to stop the barbaric war and to implement the Security Council Resolution number 2735. And our President Mahmoud Abbas called the General Assembly last September to impose all sanctions on Israel and to freeze its membership, as well as to ban armed sales. I thank you. Amanda.
Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Thank you. Thank you from our comrade who's representing the Palestinians. And you must remember that struggle. It's not an easy one. We have seen what is happening to women and children. We have seen the brutality of the Israelites. And you know who their supporters are. They are not acting on their own. Thank you very much, and you must continue to remind the world in support of the Palestinian cause. Of course, we also appreciate the role played by our government, led by the President, in raising the consciousness of the whole world about the suffering of the Palestinians. Thank you, comrades. Comrades, we will take the messages of support from our local organizations. I'm requesting that the MK, Comrade Nombego, Daniels, comes forward together with the YCL Comrade Mzwandile. You come forward, both of you. I'm sorry. Comrade Nombego will be the first to take the platform. He's a Comrade Nombego. And comrades, ndizaba flexible kancane not kakhulu. Ndiyakwazi ke unokubhoxa xa sowufuna ukulwa.
Kulo mahlathi amnyama, amnyama, kwela bothebula, kulo awasengeni, kulo mahlathi amnyama, mahlathi amnyama, kwela bothebula, kulo awasengeni, osebekhulume pitoli,
recognize the President of the ANC and that of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let me also recognize the General Secretary of the Communist Party, Comrade Mapaila. Let me also recognize the first citizen of our province, the Gauteng province, Amapanyapanya, Comrade Panyaza. Zenditi embagogo comrades, ndibulise ingqanga nentsibana zalo, okoke ukuthi all protocols observed. Viva ANC, viva! Viva Communist Party, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SANCO, viva! Umkhonto! Umkhonto! Long live the Youth League, viva! Wathinta abafazi! Long live the Young Communist Party, viva! Long live COSAS, long live! Long live the spirit of Comrade Chrisani, long live! Long live the spirit of O.R. Tambo, long live! Long live the spirit of Joe Slovo, long live! Long live the spirit of our commander, Joe Mudise, long live! Comrades, let me also recognize and greet the family of the Slovos. As we commemorate the 30 years, the commemoration of Comrade Joe Slovo, who, by the way, was our first Chief of Staff of Umkhonto weSizwe. As you can see, Umkhonto weSizwe has produced leadership, whether in the ANC and in the party. We're here today as Umkhonto weSizwe, taking our rightful place in the ANC. Asizukhathala, comrades. No matter how we're being treated, we're not going anywhere. We took an oath to say, until our last drop of blood, we will serve the people of South Africa. And we are here today doing that. All, as MK was saying, is that Maibuye ANC, Maibuye. Maibuye ANC, Maibuye. Let the ANC come back to its own people and members. Sithi phansi ne corruption, phansi. Phansi ne corruption, phansi. Comrades, the ANC Igumbimbi in the alliance of the Communist Party has managed to do a lot of things in this country since the dawn of a democracy. But the only problem is that we're not telling our story. It is only when we want something as the ANC that we tell our story. Can we go out there and tell the people that has sent us out to liberate this country that we came back as the party, the workers, the ANC, that in national liberation democratic we have achieved? As it has been said, we have not managed to achieve economic freedom. And therefore, we are here to say, can we unite and come back and go back to the people the people that have given us a mandate to govern this country. And can I also say that there can be no unity in the ANC or in the alliance without the first member of the ANC being the president of the ANC. Can we take that unity from the top until the last subordinate, so that we're able, when we go out there, sikhuluma nabantu, sibonakale ukuthi we are united, and sibonakale ukuthi siumbimbi. And the workers who made sure that they run this country ungovernable must be treated with the dignity that they deserve. Amandla!
Aphila mandla ayasusi aphila mandla asusi aphila mandla leli liswe elamakomanisi asusi aphila mandla hili liswe elamakomanisi asusi aphila mandla haya susi aphila mandla asusi aphila mandla haya susi aphila mandla asusi aphila mandla Amandla! Viva the Communist Party, viva! Phansi ngohlohle sakhe phansi! Phansi ngamasela phansi! Phansi ngamasela chitha umbutho wabantu i-ANC phansi! Phambili nenkqubela phambili! Phambili nokwakha isizwe phambili! Comrades, now sizamamela uFasimba. We will hear Comrade Umzwai, the National Secretary of the Young Communist League. Comrade Umzwai.
Amandla awethu siyasibona i-state power, siyasibona i-state power, thina sibona i-state power, siyasibona 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 i-state power, i-agenda ye-socialist, i-agenda ye-socialist, i-agenda ye-socialist. anti-spirit of Comrade Joe Slovo, long live! Long live the anti-spirit of Comrade Krisani, long live! Viva the South African Communist Party, viva! Viva the vanguard of the working class people, viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Forward to the Progressive Youth Alliance, forward! Thank you so much, Pautolo, to immediately greet the Central Committee of the South African Communist Party, the host, as led by the incorrectable, our General Secretary, Comrade Solima Paila, to recognize the leaders of the Alliance present here today, ANC President, COSATU First, Second, Vice President, as well as the General Secretary and the TGS, to recognize Sanko and the Progressive Youth Alliance. I've seen the President of SASCO, Comrade Alungile Kamche, is present in our midst today. The Young Communist League stands united with the South African Communist Party as we commemorate the life of Comrade Joe Slovo. Comrade Joe Slovo was a revolutionary and was also a strategic thinker, a man of unwavering principle, and a champion of the working class. He understood very well that true liberation requires a fundamental restructuring of society, a dismantling of a capitalist society that perpetuates exploitation and inequality. 30 years later, after his passing, South Africa remains trapped in the clutches of neoliberal capitalism. Our youth, who are supposed to be inheritors of the hard-won freedom that Joe Slovo and his generation sacrificed so much for, are condemned to a bleak future of unemployment and despair. The real rate of unemployment among the young people, a staggering 60%, is a testament to the systemic failure of the economic model that prioritizes profit over people. One must then ask the question, are government initiatives like youth employment accord, youth employment subsidy, just a mere window dressing, co-opted on behalf of corporate interests in the interest of capital to pacify the masses while maintaining the status quo? Comrade Joe Slovo would have recognized these deceptive tactics for what they are, a betrayal of the youth. As we commemorate his legacy, we must also critically assess where we stand as a nation and as well as a movement. What would Comrade Joe Slovo say about South Africa's present situation? What would he expect to us, the children of the revolution, as we continue to battle the structures that oppress our people? Look around you. Witness the reality of contemporary South Africa. The cost of living crisis isn't some abstract economic phenomenon. It's the empty plate on the table, the overdue rent notice, the anxiety that subjected young people to resort to speculative activities such as gambling online betting sites, while those who own these companies secure their futures. They lecture us on financial responsibility while they feast on the lifeblood of the working class and the poor. We demand substantial state investment in industries that create meaningful employment for our youth, namely emerging sectors like manufacturing, renewable energy and technology. These are the sectors that can build a self-sufficient economy, breaking our dependency on foreign capital and multinational corporations that extract our wealth and leave us with ecological devastation. We reject the triad trope of private sector-led growth. It is a myth perpetuated by the ruling class to maintain their stranglehold on our economy. Land, the very foundation of our nation, remains concentrated in the hands of the few. Radical land reform is not a radical idea. It is a necessity, a corrective measure to historical injustice. We must reclaim our land, not for revenge, but for restoration. And alongside land, we must seize control of the commanding heights of our economy. State-led pharmaceutical and mineral companies are not utopian fantasies. They are strategic imperatives in a world where resources are weaponized and nations held hostage by corporate power. The current government, the so-called government of national unity, in reality is a government on neoliberal unity. This alliance with the DA a party fundamentally opposed to the interests of the working class, represent a profound betrayal of the National Democratic Revolution. Their austerity measures, their attacks on public service, and their unwavering support for privatization are all evidence of their commitment to a neoliberal agenda. This so-called unity is a farce, a smokescreen for a continued assault of the working class and the poor. Look at the battle over the NHI. Those who cry foul here, who raise the specter of inefficiency and collapse, conveniently forget that they readily access similar services in other, or shall we say, more developed nations. Their hypocrisy is blatant. Their agenda is so transparent. They fear a system that puts people before profit. While we strive to ensure healthcare for all, private healthcare vultures like Discovery cycle overhead, challenging NHI in court, prioritizing shareholder dividends over the lives of our people. The legal playing field itself is tilted in their favor, with the state often outmatched by legal mercenaries, bought and paid for by the capital. The hypocrisy stinks deep. Doctors who resist NHI here eagerly practice it in Commonwealth countries with similar systems. We demand the implementation of the national health insurance and the establishment of state-owned pharmaceutical companies to end profiteering from essential medicines. We must also overhaul our medical and nursing and training college by way of allocating and putting it under the Department of Higher Education, such that we are able to expand access into these institutions, equipping our healthcare professionals to serve the needs of a post-colonial society. The DA, with their crocodile tears over Bella Bill, try to mask their true intentions. They are feigned concern for educational standards, but their actions speak louder than their words. Their obstructionism is a thinly veiled attempt to cling to a past that serves only their narrow interest, a past that has failed generations of our youth. This sabotage of transformative education cannot stand, but the rot of inaction doesn't stop with the opposition. Even within our ranks, complacency and resistance to change fester. When the president calls for progress, for a radical overhaul of our education system, are met with deafening silence within his own ministers, particularly from the Minister of Education. We know the depth of challenge we face. This silence is not simply disagreement. It is a betrayal of promises made to our people. It is a dereliction of duty. Comrade President, your words ring hollow when your ministers actively undermine your vision. The time for empty promises is over. The time for decisive action is now. Mr. President, fire the basic minister Warube now. Appoint someone who shares your commitment to transformative education. Someone who will champion the cause of our youth. Someone who will build a future worthy of our children. The YCL's call for SACP to independently contest state power is not rejection of the alliance. It is a realization of Slovo's vision. The alliance in its current state has become diluted, its revolutionary potential stifled. The NDR can no longer survive as an occasional guest of state institutions. It must be uncompromising tenant, shaping the very foundation of our government. We need an alliance that truly represents the interests of the workers and youth, an alliance that is not afraid to wield, power in the service of the people. So what do we do? What do we offer youth today? We do not ask for minor reforms, for piecemeal changes that will not shift the needle in the fight against capitalist exploitation. We demand radical systematic change. We demand nationalization of key industries like energy, manufacturing, and natural resources. But the struggle does not end at our borders. The legacy of imperialism continues to affect not just our economy, but also international relationships. The fight against neoliberal world order is a global one, and the solidarity that Comrade Slovo felt with oppressed peoples worldwide is even more essential today than it was in his time. From Palestine to Latin America, our comrades are fighting against imperialism, against neocolonialism, structures that dominate and exploit our nation. We in South Africa must continue to fight on behalf of those who suffer under imperialism's good. South Africa's economy is still tightly bound to the forces of imperialism. And as long as we remain tethered to an unjust exploitative economic system will never truly achieve liberation. For us as the Young Communist League, we are saying socialism or barbarism. Amanda! Away, two! Pansi namasela, pansi! Forward to state power, forward!
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Zondile. Comrade. Itoesha, comrade. Yayazi balejeni yaniva kakuhle kodwa ixesha. Time, comrades. Comrade Mandla.
Amanda, Oweto, forward to socialism. Comrades, if you parked your car this side of the building, it's a black Range Rover. I'm told it's on fire, so please quickly go and attend to your car. Your car is on fire. The registration is DY49DFGP. DY49DFGP, a black Range Rover. Please urgently go and attend to your car, comrades, before it's in trouble. Comrade Chulas, please come and announce the next speakers.
Comrades, can we have the Sanko Comrade Second Deputy President, Comrade Lucky Moloi, together with the comrade from Kosatu. Comrade Lucky, over to you. We're getting very tight. Wanda! Away, two! Dinamshazina! I shall the Panzer Bambum Tear. To the General Secretary of the Communist Party, Comrade Solima Paila, and the entire leadership of the party, to the leadership of the ANC, led by Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa of the ANC and the Republic President, the leadership of COSATU, herein represented by Comrade Donovan Luvuno, and the leadership of the YCL, the family of Joe Slovo, all other protocols observed, including as observed to the provincial leadership, both of the ANC and the Communist Party here in this hosting province. Mata! On behalf of the South African National Civic Organization, we are pleased to be with the South African Communist Party today as the world and South Africa commemorates one of our great leaders and the son of the soil that led the South African victory to liberation and freedom. It is our great honor and privilege to accept the invitation from the SACP to form part of this great program. And this program, which is not only an ordinary program, but a sacrosanct event,
here at Avalon City. Of more significance is the SACP inviting SANCO shortly after its 5th Special Congress and within days before the celebration of the 114th birthday in Cape Town of the ANC from henceforth. First and foremost, comrades, let me stratify the issue of the leadership of the structure of SANCO for ease of reference going forward. As I stand here today, I stand as a representative of a singular united SANCO, for which there is no parallel. I will not labor on this point because it is clearly a matter of the bilateral between the Communist Party and SANCO in due course, which I must hasten to say and to add that it's been pending for a while. The ball is on the SACP's court to bounce it and to bounce it back. Unity of the alliance must never be distorted, nor compromised to satisfy renegades and disloyalty. We must take heed of the age-old warning that if we allow the truth to remain on the scaffold, evil will forever be on the throne. We have learned of one of the SACP's 5th Congress resolution on state power and how it wishes to pursue that important electoral contestation project of national importance and thus change the electoral landscape in South Africa in 2026. Similar to the matter referred to above, on unity, we await a bilateral engagement with the SACP on this matter, on how the party intends to build, and I open quote, build a powerful socialist movement of the workers and the poor, close quote. On how urgent this bilateral engagement is, shall be left on the SACP to determine its pace. Similar to the ANC, our members cut across as a common denominator of sorts, and all in pursuit of the NDR, which is the primary objective of the struggle and of the alliance. We do, however, accept that the Special Congress decision cannot be disputed nor kicked about by the guardians of the status quo. SANCO accepts that the SAC believes that it is now time to begin to shape the minds of the South African population towards socialism. We also accept that it is obvious today that the pursuit of a reconfigured alliance as an idea has not worked for almost a decade. It remains, however, a political item on the agenda of the political council, although the ANC last National Congress fell short on this critical alliance issue. For this reason, we know that the Communist Party fell short of options to pursue except to take the direction it has taken to contest the state power. Therefore, our resolve is based on the understanding that the alliance is composed of independent organizations which are free to pursue their own goals and aspirations alike. After all, Much of the critical debates in South Africa, pre and post the liberation growth path, has been contributed by the SACP. It is against that background that we accept that the SACP now needs to explore ideas for a new paradigm to advance the interest of the working class and the proletariat in general. Therefore, our view is in sync with the expression famously made by one former Soviet Communist Party General Secretary, Mikhail Gorbachev, who once said, "Freedom of choice is the universal principle to which there should be no exceptions." In making this quotation, SANCO acknowledges that they themselves are not communist, but it cannot be denied that we have been and continue to form part of key policy formulation in constituencies in South African political landscape, and that communists' thoughts have reverberated in our minds for decades. For this reason, we concede that plurality of ideas is not a sign of weakness, but an expression of inner alliance democracy. But we all agree that neoliberalism we all agree that we all agree it's up to you to say so, but not for me. We agree. We all agree. We all agree that neoliberalism is a common enemy.
Yebo.
Manda, Oweto, Comrade, as I proceed to come to a close, let me say rather we exist in an environment where the concept of civics has not been fully developed, yet fully defined in South Africa, but the less embracement in the socio-political environment, as many believe there is nothing between the left and the right of the political extremes except the NGOs. Which Sanko is neither of the NGO category either. The ideals that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. enshrined helps us to navigate the strong winds of push against any of the extremes, but to the center left, towards nationalism. But we are not nationalists either. We form part of those broad social streams embraced by nationalists. It is for that reason we take heed of Dr. Martin Luther King's that capitalism is not taking into consideration that life is social, neither is communist taking into consideration that the life is individual. As I have started with interruptions of the mic, I hereby would like to pause, Bakabana, and say, Viva Comrade Joe Slovo, viva! Viva Comrade Joe Slovo, viva! Manda!
Comrades, we are requesting the comrades on this side, they tend to stamp on the lines. As a result, they disturb the lines. That's why it gets interrupted now and again. Santela comrades, nina basondelela ngakulo mchini lomkhulu. Inganyatheli intamo. As a result, to disturb la. Imoshe lento yethu enhle. Comrade, the second Deputy President of COSATU is now representing COSATU. Over to you, comrade.
Amanda, be rest assured. I grew up next to a hostel. I'm going to Comrades, let me take this opportunity to greet the General Secretary of the SACP, Comrade Solima Paila, the Central Committee, and the collective National Office Bearers of the SACP. Ufasimba, comrade, as well, let me greet Ufasimba. I am very impressed, comrade, the way Mzwandile has spoken, the NS. He has represented the young people. May you continue, Mchana, speak unapologetically, unequivocally so, on the issues of young people. Let me take this opportunity, comrade, to greet the COSATU that is here, all the affiliates, which are led by the President, Comrade Mike, who just arrived now, the first DP. In terms of the protocol, comrades, he's supposed to be ascending to the mic, but he said, I'm not a power monger. Comrade Duncan, unleash the message. Thank you very much. Comrade, let me greet the GS of Sanko. Let me greet, comrade, the President of the Republic, our President, Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, who's also the President of the Afghanistan Congress. In the past, ordinarily, Bengezi, top 5, myself, top 6 ANC comrade in these gatherings. But I think it is because This is a round number, it's 8 years. We are waiting for this 8 years. So I think let's applaud for you, President. Comrade, let me extend greetings to the family of Joe Slovo and not forget, comrade, yourselves. Amanda! Amanda! Comrade, receive the message from the Federation of Elijah Pahaya. Ourselves, comrade, we commend the Vanguard Party of the working class for a sterling job in keeping the memory of former GS of the party, Comrade Joe Slovo, alive for 30 years. It gives us, comrades, comfort and hope as the working class that Joe Slovo's unparalleled contribution and commitment to the liberation will continue to reverberate like it was yesterday. We are also vehemently believe that this commemoration will continue be our guiding revolutionary compass as we navigate these revolutionary stormy weathers of non-antagonistic contradiction that befalls the mass democratic movement in its entirety. And we are confident that, comrade, we are going to, in the memory of Joe Slovo, will be able to reflect honestly and talk truth to one another, comrade, because we owe them that, comrade. We also celebrate this gigantic and momentous occasion with a deep feeling, comrade, of unease, and this emanates from the setbacks that we have suffered as an MTM, comrade, collective in this national general election in 24. It is the first time that we are gathered here to celebrate this gallant of the revolution when we have lost the election, comrade. We have lost the election as a collective, comrade, of which it is important that as a collective we must self-reflect and be honest about it, comrade. We therefore, as a federation, believe that collectively we must take stock of what needs to be done, comrade, moving forward. These setbacks of the elections poses a gigantic threat to the national democratic revolution and the advancement of the revolutionary working class struggle, comrade, towards socialism. It also, comrade, these setbacks, it also calls for an urgent implementation of the alliance reconfiguration that has long been avoided, comrade, President of the ANC, Mongameli. It is very important, comrades, that we honestly revisit this item of the reconfiguration. Abanye bacabanga ukuthi besikhuluma ngokunikeza nama-position or ngokuplaceana ama-elitists, they meet in the corner, so to saying. They are merely confining reconfiguration to that. And the comrades, it is said that those very same comrades that are raising these popular issues, they are also part of other organizations that are not part of us, but they are worried about our issues, comrade. When they are comrade, throughout, where all of us participating as an alliance. But today, comrades, you don't want us, comrades. You want to comrade, the APC, the Alliance Political Committee, co-council, must be with GNU. We cannot accept that, comrade. Tina was saying that as if only GNU, that's what we have said as the COSAT, comrade. As if only, comrade, because the very same people that are there in the GNU are the very same people that they are anti-workers, comrade. These are the very same people that they are descendants, they are ideological descendants of no Chagalas. It is impossible, comrade. Actually, comrade, what we are doing is a disservice to comrade Joe Slovo's memory to say issue of land, which is in the Freedom Charter, we are giving that lumpen to continue that thing, comrade. That lumpen is a minister of land. Comrade, is actually, I'm failing to go to the president is here, but however, comrade, it's very important that it is, comrade, wrong. And Chairman Mao is very clear in his selected words that we must always, comrade, correct our mistakes. We must always revisit. And if what we are doing or what has been corrected, it will help the people, then we must correct it. That's what Mao is saying, comrade. Ourselves, president of the ANC and president of the country, I think we have erred, and it is human to err. We have erred to say, because land is among the issues that we are fighting for in the Freedom Charter. But you are putting someone who is the antithesis of what we are believing in to come and safeguard the issue of land. I think we have erred on that, president. Hence, we are saying as a working class, that is why even in the sector of the organizing, it's agriculture. We can't have that man, that matriculant. Of which, comrade, it is very important that we are not fighting, we are pro-building a society that is diverse. But it cannot be at the expense of the working class and the poor. We are, comrades, supporting that we must build a just society. But it cannot be at the expense of these retrenchments that we are seeing, comrade president. These retrenchment, comrades, that are ballooning everywhere. As we speak even today, ArcelorMittal is retrenching 3,500. Last year, almost more than 10,000 people in the mining sector are being retrenched. Power stations are being closed. At the expense of the working class and the poor. Ourselves, comrades, we are saying that we cannot, if indeed we want to correct what our members or what our people, our masses, they feel alienated by the posture that we are taking, by a handful that is there in the MDM. There's a handful, of course, comrade, that those petty bourgeoisie which are brought to come and defend the status quo. It cannot be, president. Yes, indeed, we must agree and be thankful that we are having the ballot bill and we are going to build an eagle eye look so that it can be safeguarded and be implemented to the fullest, comrade. President, we are saying that we know and we apologize on behalf of the MDM to Comrade Joe Slovo that we are in court as the Federation trying to defend the constitutional right of the Public Workers Union, whom are being barred to participate or lead in the choice of their political organization. We apologize to Joe Slovo, Comrade Joe Slovo, for the retrenchment in the private sector, the balloon, comrade. We apologize to Comrade Joe Slovo, comrade, to the privatization of the SOEs. Transnet has been private. There is no other way, comrade, to put this. There is no other way to put this. Transnet has been privatized. There is no other way, comrade, to say we're on the verge to see the airline that is making profit all of a sudden was on the verge of being privatized. But I did promise the professor here that I'll be very short, because if you don't listen to the professor, we'll have a problem. But before sitting down, leadership, ourselves as an MDM, that is why, comrades, we cannot overemphasize the need that we must reconfigure, comrades. We must reconfigure, comrades, because all the stormy weather that we've weathered in the past during the liberation struggle, it was because of the unity that we had. It was because we were able to identify who's the enemy. Now it's becoming difficult, comrade, to identify who's the enemy. You cannot say that now you are one of us, but someone wants, comrade, to sell out SAA. You cannot, someone is one of us, but in the midst of that, you want to retrench at the midst of maximum profits. As the Federation, we are saying that let's come, comrades, collectively, and sit down and talk about these issues. Comrades, the situation of 2026 will be dire to all of us. We cannot afford not to be at the helm, comrade, of government. But however, it begins with us as an alliance leadership. Comrades are pompous. They think the organization is theirs. Comrades, we have inherited these organizations. We are lucky to lead, comrades, to be put in these particular positions. But the least we can do to this organization, let's leave them, not to destroy them. History will judge us very harshly, comrade Solima Pada, comrade Cheers. History will judge us, comrade Sri Ramaphosa. History will judge us, comrade Zingiso in her absence, but comrade Mike, because he's here, that in our lifetime, during our leadership, we
whereby we've lost power, and also brought back the ideological descendants of the previous regime to come and lead. Amanda!
Manyana ni basebenze. Manyana ni basebenze. Manyana ni basebenze. Manyana ni basebenze. Bathi kama lenhlangano hikosatu, hikama lenhlangano hikosatu, hikama lenhlangano hikosatu, hikama lenhlangano hikosatu. Thank you, Comrade Duncan. Comrades, we are now moving, and I'm requesting the comrades here to be left only with Comrade Mandla. I'm going to be calling and requesting the comrades to bring, by the way, I must correct this, the deputy president of the ANC was here previously. Now, today we have the president of the ANC. There's an improvement, and we like it because we want to listen to our leaders, especially now that we're going to January 8th, which is on the 11th. He's just going to give us a prelude to what is going to happen in Cape Town, the president of the African National Congress. I'm requesting the comrades, President Cyril Ramaphosa, to come forward. The ANC yasetyenzelwa, alala yaset. The ANC yasetyenzelwa, alala yasetyenzelwa, halala. Halala iyeyo yaseche, halala, halala iyeyo yaseche, ANC yasetyenzelwa, halala yaseche, ANC yasetyenzelwa, halala yaseche. Haithengwa ngethenda, halala iyoyo yasetyenze. Haithengwa ngethenda, halala iyoyo yas. ANC yasetyenzelwa. Amandla, viva ANC, viva! Viva President Ramaphosa, viva! Viva the Alliance, viva! Comrade President.
Amandla! Amandla! Viva SACP, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SANCO, viva! Long live the African National Congress, long live. Amandla. General Secretary, Comrade Solima Paila, the GS of the South African Communist Party, the other officials of the South African Communist Party who are here present, the leaders of COSATU who are here, and the leaders of SANCO, members of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, as well as the leaders of the ANC provincial structures, the leadership of the ANC Women's League, the leadership of the ANC Youth League, the YCL, the Liberation War veterans, and comrades and friends. Comrades, I am truly honored to have this opportunity to be here present. Comrade Tulas is right. I was here when I was Deputy President. And I'm particularly pleased to be here as President of the African National Congress on such an important 30th commemoration. When I arrived, the leadership of the party, Comrade Soli, and them were leading me into this precinct. And they said, President, you see, we've even rolled out a red carpet. And I said, yeah, ngiyayibona le red carpet. Kodwa nithi i-DA aniyithandi kodwa ninekhala eblue. Nifaka ne-blue, mina angifuni ukuhamba kule blue. I just want to walk on the red. So comrades, it's actually a joy to be here. Comrade Panyaza, who has just left because he's going to Cape Town to the meeting of the National Executive Committee, which will be considering the January 8th statement. I told him that he should go ahead and inform them that I will probably run late because I've got to be here until the end. I can't leave when Comrade Soli is speaking. But Comrade Panyaza then said to me, as the song was going on, as it was starting, yeah, asifuni GNU. What to Comrade Panyaza, President, close your ears so that you must not hear ngati hayi ngizeleona leonto. I want to hear the song uma abantu bethi abayifuni GNU. Comrades, it is a joy to be here, particularly to commemorate the extraordinary life of the revolutionary Comrade Joe Slovo isitwalandwe siyaparangwe. We gather here not only so that we can honor his contribution to the struggle for liberation, but also to reflect on his legacy and how we can draw lessons from his life, from his actions, as well as from his character. In the 3 decades since Comrade Joe Slovo passed away, our country has been transformed in many, many ways, as all of us here will attest to. The South Africa we live in today is different from the South Africa that we all lived in when Comrade Joe Slovo was alive. Our democracy, which Comrade Joe Slovo was one of the prime architects, he is one of those who built this democracy that we have. Our democracy is a robust one. It is sometimes noisy, but it is also a democracy that allows that we should hear all voices. And today, at this time, It is a democracy that allows me as well to stand here and hear voices that are speaking in favor of what we are seeking to do in government, but also to hear voices against the GNU, to also hear voices of those who say we may well have made a mistake. Yes, this is the democracy that Comrade Joe Slovo devoted his life. Yes, while we are facing many challenges, our democratic state has in many ways developed a way in which we can tolerate each other, we can listen to each other, and we can even take counsel from each other, no matter how the counsel is delivered. As the comrades were standing up to speak, I knew that they would be articulating views that are strong. One of the journalists, Umaseko, as I came in, standing next to Comrade Soli, the President, you know who to Comrade Soli is against the GNU. Mati, yes, I know. He's fiercely against the GNU. But we are united together about the transformative process that we must embark on to change our country and to move it forward. We are united together in prosecuting the National Democratic Revolution. Our constitutional institutions safeguard and advance all our rights as South Africans, as comrades. Across the country, millions of South Africans have seen the progress that has been made, and yet we all agree that while much has changed, many of the features of our apartheid past still remain. The shadow of apartheid is still with us. Apartheid still casts a shadow on the lives of many of our people. As we move forward, that shadow continues to follow us. We are a country that is characterized by extreme inequality, by poverty, unemployment, and unemployment defines the conditions of the lives of many of our people. Communities are threatened by crime and violence. In some areas, the state itself is unable to reliably provide the protection and the services that our people need. Comrade Tulas Mercy has been very strong on this podium, talking against corruption. Corruption undermines the capability of the state, and it also erodes the institutions of society, and it also diverts away those resources in the country, those resources that are needed most by our people. Many elements of the social and economic construct of apartheid colonialism that Comrade Joe Slovo so effectively described and so fiercely opposed still remain today. The mission to which he dedicated his life is not yet complete. That we must concede. It is, however, our shared responsibility as the liberation movement, but more particularly as the alliance, as well as the broader democratic movement, and also as the people of South Africa, to complete the work that Joe Slovo started and left unfinished. It is our responsibility as the Alliance to pick up the spear where it has fallen. Joe Slovo was exceptional in many ways. And this is the day when we should focus on remembering Joe Slovo and see what lessons we can draw from his life. A number of us here were privileged to have worked very closely with Joe Slovo, to have seen how he worked at close range, how he interacted with the giants of our movement like Oliver Reginald Tambo, Moses Mabhida, Ubaba Kotani, Nelson Mandela, Ubaba Walter Sisulu Mama, Albertina Sisulu, and many others. When presented with the opportunity as a person to embrace the privilege of being a white South African, Joe Slovo chose to side with the oppressed and the exploited. He was born into a world of privilege, but he forsook that privilege and sought to join issue with us, to join the struggle on the side of the oppressed and the exploited. Joe Slovo chose a life of struggle, a life of adversity, of exile, and also of great personal risk. Like many other compatriots who joined the struggle for freedom, Comrade Joe Slovo held fast to the principle that justice is universal. He believed that justice, whether it be social, political, or economic, cannot be available to one person to the exclusion of any other. It cannot be allocated according to race, gender, or class. This principle has been a common thread throughout our struggle. The ANC's strategy and tactics says that we seek to build a society that is based on the best in human civilization. It says that this society should find expression in the management of human relations based on the political equality and social inclusivity. For Joe Slovo, the achievement of such a society required a coherent understanding of the society we are seeking to change. He had one of the most analytical and incisive minds and a remarkable ability to capture the essence of any idea, of any phenomenon, or any development. He was one of those who you always knew when confronted with a problem, he would not do just slapdash. He would sit back and analyze a problem and look at all sides and come up through the process of analysis with what he believed was the solution in line with the National Democratic Revolution principles or ideology. He was eager and willing to debate, not so much to prove himself right, but to enrich and to deepen understanding of the collective as a whole. He was never impatient. He was never emotional. He was always rational and willing to listen. And he was a writer of seminal documents that came to influence the broader perspectives of our movement. It was during that time that the Alliance and the democratic movement as a whole looked up not only to him, but to the South African Communist Party as the vanguard organization of our revolution, as the one where the best ideas would come from, as the well-considered views would be put forward, and they would always be put forward calmly, with great incisiveness, and with great patience to get everyone to understand the import of what was being put forward. Following his example, we need to revive the culture of political thought within the liberation movement if we are to build the society that we want to achieve. We need to understand the economic, the political, social, and cultural forces that shape our society. We need to demonstrate the kind of intellectual honesty and rigor that characterize the work of Joe Slovo and other great theorists of our movement. President Nelson Mandela once said that Joe Slovo was not an armchair politician, but he was a revolutionary who practiced what he believed in. Madiba said, Joe did not only interpret the world, he helped to change the world. This was one of the great strengths of Joe Slovo, the person whose life we are commemorating today, the person whose character we are remembering today, and the person whose style we need to emulate. This was one of his great strengths. He was a strategist, but he was also an organizer. He understood what needed to be done to advance the struggle and applied himself to the task of the moment in practical terms. As a leader, he occupied many positions of great importance within the liberation movement as the first white member of the ANC National Executive Committee, as the General Secretary of the Communist Party, and as the Chief of Staff of Umkhonto weSizwe. He occupied these positions not because he sought them, not because he pushed himself, not because he wanted them, but because he was recognized by his comrades as an outstanding leader of proven capability. He did not try to push people out of the way so that yena akhethwe abanye bawele ngaseceleni. He did not do that. In each instance, he understood the value and the task of the liberation of our people, and he literally threw himself into the execution of that task. Now today we find ourselves in an environment where positions of responsibility are often associated with access to power and resources. We have unwittingly elevated the status of responsibility within the state to the detriment of building our movement as a powerful instrument for social and economic change. One of Joe Slovo's most exceptional attributes was his ability to appreciate changing conditions in the course of our struggle and to anticipate the need for new approaches. He was firm in strategy, but he was also flexible in tactics. He was among those who saw the need for the shift to armed struggle in the midst of an intransigent government and a repressive apartheid regime. He was one of those with Comrade Madiba who concluded that we must pick up arms and fight the apartheid regime. And as negotiations for a democratic transition got underway, Comrade Slovo was among those who argued for the suspension of the armed struggle. Yes, that decision was severely opposed within our ranks in the African National Congress and the Alliance. Comrades just did not understand why we would enter negotiations without prosecuting our struggle to ultimate victory and march into Pretoria with our guns blazing. But he understood the exigencies of that moment. He led the debate in the ANC also on very tricky concepts such as the sunset clauses as a means to break the negotiations deadlock and clear the way for the adoption of an interim constitution. And this came from a high-ranking communist leader who saw that the moment that we were in required different tactics so that we can use that as a beachhead to move forward and to strengthen our own position, to use that as leverage. He is one of those who produced a document that finally said, apart from adopting the sunset clause, where we would retain those who were our arch enemies in certain positions for some time, we should utilize the moment to strengthen ourselves and indeed, and so that we can get to know the ropes of government and all that, and that's exactly what we did. He was also one of those who said initially, yes, we should embrace the notion of the first government that was led by Ubaba Nelson Mandela. He had the political courage to advocate for positions that represented a break with established practices. And he had the intellectual honesty and standing within the movement to argue persuasively and patiently for those positions. He was able to demonstrate how these changes in tactical approach were the best way under the prevailing circumstances to advance the National Democratic Revolution. He was also able to demonstrate how inaction or an adherence to tactics that no longer served their purpose could set back the liberation struggle. Comrades, this capability is as valuable and as necessary now as it was then when we negotiated the transition from apartheid to democracy. Those were difficult choices. Those were almost like impossible choices. In the elections last year, as we all know, the African National Congress suffered a great electoral setback. As a consequence, the conditions in which we pursue the NDR today is different from the conditions that prevailed in the first 30 years of our democracy, because we did not win an outright majority as to be able to govern on our own as we have done in the past 30 years. This is not the first setback that the movement has experienced in its history. The electoral outcome does not, comrades, signal the terminal decline of the ANC, nor does it represent the defeat of the National Democratic Revolution. However, the electoral outcome has sent a clear message to our movement that we must act differently, that we must act decisively and with urgency to restore the confidence of the people of our country in the African National Congress. This setback has required that we understand the nature of the changed conditions and that we adopt approaches that will maintain the momentum of fundamental economic, political, and social change in our country. Now, as the Alliance, we have the responsibility to carry the hopes of our people, especially in trying moments. We must continue, as Joe Slovo would have done, to continuously assess the balance of forces, to continuously analyze the terrain of struggle, and to review our tactical approaches accordingly. At this time, we should recall Joe Slovo's capacity for critical and honest examination of the liberation movement, its policies, its practices, its progress, its strengths and weaknesses, as well as its opportunities and threats. We need to speak openly about our own failures and weaknesses so that we can draw the necessary lessons and, importantly, take the necessary corrective action. This does not mean that we should diminish the progress we have made or disregard the substantial capabilities and strengths that reside within our movement. We need to move with urgency and boldness to implement the actions that arise from the lessons that we have learned. But we must also be willing to listen to one another. Yes, the African National Congress must be willing and prepared to listen to comrades who are saying the GNU is a mistake. We must listen. Similarly, every one of us must also listen to the path that is being taken and look out for the dangers and make all of us alert to the dangers that we see. We must also undertake the renewal and rebuilding of our movement and alliance with greater vigor and purpose. We must be prepared to discard the approaches that no longer serve their purpose and to embrace innovative and new tactics that take our struggle forward. Joe Slovo, comrades, was an embodiment of the Revolutionary Alliance. As a leader of the ANC, SACP, and Umkhonto weSizwe, he understood most keenly the respective roles and responsibilities and objectives of each of the alliance components. He articulated with great clarity the purpose of the ANC in advancing the National Democratic Revolution and its part towards the realization of the mission of the South African Communist Party. He understood the role of the progressive trade union movement, firstly as SACP and then as COSATU. He also understood the role that is played by civic organizations. He played an important role over time in shaping how these formations worked together and in developing their common program of action. For him, the relationship between the ANC and the SACP was vital. Through the contributions of people like Joe Slovo, the SACP has been a very central organization to refining the ANC's ideological outlook. Together, the two formations have pursued common ends and undertaken common programs that have advanced the cause of the people of South Africa. The SACP has been a strength behind the ANC. Similarly, the ANC has been a pillar of strength to the SACP. And the two need each other. The SACP needs the ANC. The ANC needs the SACP. The two are like twins. Separating them is to weaken our NDR. Getting one to work separately is to weaken the National Democratic Movement. We therefore need to strengthen our resolve to prosecute the NDR to finality, knowing very well that yes, the SACP's mission is to build socialism in South Africa. While the conditions in which we struggle have changed very substantially over the last 30 years, our common overall objective remains the same: the achievement of a national democratic society. At such a time, the lessons from the life of Joe Slovo will really stand us in good stead. There are many aspects to Joe Slovo's legacy. Of these, perhaps the most compelling is his vision of the future, particularly when he said, "Humankind can never attain real freedom until a society has been built in which no person has the freedom to exploit another person." If we are to appreciate the meaning of the life and the struggle of Isitwalandwe Siaparangwe, Joe Slovo, then we must dedicate our every effort and our every means to the achievement of this vision. And this vision is best achieved when we have a strong alliance, when the four parts of the alliance work together, joined not only in the arms, but joined to the hip, strengthening one another, making each other strong. That is when, yes, this state power that the party is talking about will then be attainable for the democratic movement. And as we get there, we are then able to turbocharge the NDR to higher levels. Doing it differently and separately, we then just create splinters. We have seen how splinters have weakened the African National Congress. When you look at the various parties that have splintered from the ANC, you then begin to understand that through that splintering process, from the late 50s, through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000, the ANC has been weakened. And recently we have seen how those splinters have thoroughly weakened the ANC. We need to ask ourselves whether we are truly serious about winning state power on our own as the alliance. Because if we are, then we walk together. If we walk separately, then we must then accept that yes, state power is going to be diffused and is no longer going to reside in the hands of the mass democratic movement or the alliance. That is the choice we have to make. And that is the message that I want to put forward. As I say, let us remember Joe Slovo. Joe Slovo stood for a strong alliance. Joe Slovo, despite the challenges and difficulties, he wanted to see an alliance that is strong. Forward with the memory of Joe Slovo, forward. Forward, ngesithwalane with Joe Slovo, forward. Amandla. Forward with the South African Communist Party, forward. Maikule, South African Communist Party, Maikule. Amandla. Thank you, comrades.
Amandla! 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 Ithini le ngxolo yakho comrade Nyiko and ingxolo imani mlo imani ngale ngxolo ibambe comrade ngale ngxolo yakho comrades. I must thank the president of the ANC, but there will be the proper vote of thanks later on, after the main speech. Order, comrades. Order, comrades. Time, comrades. Time. Time, comrades. Time. Comrades, there's one which I've picked up. We're all listening, but there's a dialectic I've picked up, which said, those who do not want the GNU must also talk about, reflect on the dangers to the revolution. But equally, those who say, no, we're going, they must also listen to those who say, we don't want the GNU. That's a very nice dialectic for me. That's a very nice dialectic. As the people of dialectics, as the Communist Party. Comrades, we have come to the climax. Uvutondaba. Uvutondaba ke is the peak. Now we're going to call the main speaker of the day, which is our General Secretary. We all know him, hailing from the ranks of the youth in Katlehong, in Thokoza, in the East Rand. We all know him as an MK combatant, one of the young lions, growing up the ranks of the South African Communist Party, moving all over the country, organizing for the Communist Party, ending up being the Deputy General Secretary. And today, he is the General Secretary, fearless, brave, and honest what he believes in. Comrade Papaila, deliver the message of the day about Joe Slovo.
Amandla. Matla. Amandla. Long live the Alliance, long live. Long live the Alliance, long live. Viva the SACP, viva! Viva the ANC, viva! Viva Kosato, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Long live the Alliance, long live! Forward to socialism, forward! Down with capitalism, down! Down with capitalism, down! Thank you very much, Comrade Program Directors. Comrade Tulasi Ngesi, our Deputy National Chairperson, as well as Dr. Mandla Khatebe, Professor Khatebe, our Provincial Chair here in Gauteng, for running our program. Comrades, let me start by extending our greetings to all of you who are here today and greet the leadership of our movement present here, starting with President Cyril Ramaphosa,
President of the African National Congress, as well as President of our Republic. I want to say that, Comrade President, you have joined President Mandela, who came here as well. Yes, President Mandela did arrive when we were celebrating the memory of
D3 that have given us support unwaveringly every year.
Let me also greet the leadership of the Communist Party, Comrade Joyce Muropa, our National Treasurer, Thomas Nenamali, kodwa uyazama. Na wonke amalungu ama-NOBs we-Communist Party, Comrade Madala Masuku, our first Deputy General Secretary, as well as Comrade Tulas Ngesi, our Deputy National Chair, Comrade David Masondo, our second Deputy General Secretary. Our National Chair is not okay. We want to wish him speedy recovery. He's seeing a specialist today. And all members of our Central Committee that are present here, and our provincial leadership from various provinces, especially our host province, led by Comrade Jacob Mamabulo, Minashuru, and members of the PC here in Gauteng, and the rest of the Gauteng leadership structures, especially our district here in Lingajabani, led by Comrade Africa. We also greet the leadership of the ANC, members of the National Executive Committee, as well as the chairperson of the ANC, Comrade Banyaza, who just left to attend the NEC meeting that the President will join as well. We want to wish that meeting great success as they prepare for the January 8 celebrations, and also extend our special greetings to the African National Congress on this momentous occasion of its anniversary. Will be present in that anniversary, Comrade President. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Comrade Dada Morero, the Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, who's the chair of our ANCA in the region. We recognize you, Comrade Dada. We've had a brief discussion about the state of the city. It's a matter that we will take up going forward. Again, comrades, let me recognize the leadership of COSATU, led here by fellow fighter Comrade Mike Shingange, the first Deputy President of COSATU, and Comrade Duncan, who delivered the message on behalf of our mighty federation, COSATU. He's the second Vice President. As well as the leadership of COSATU present here, Comrade Solipeto, the General Secretary. I've seen the former General Secretary, Pakania, Comrade Becky Jalinjali. Yeah, he's here as well. All leaders of COSATU affiliates who are present here. And leadership of SANCO, Comrade Muloi, and the rest of the leadership from the province who are here, and national members of the NEC. And greet Comrade Nombeko, from Umkhonto Sizwe Liberation War Veterans. Commander Nombeko, thanks very much that Umkhonto Sizwe Liberation War Veterans continues the oath we all took to fight on behalf of our people, to be used as an instrument on behalf of the African National Congress for the liberation of our people. And I'm glad that MK Liberation War Veteran continues on this trajectory. Again, comrades, greet the leadership of our Young Communist League, all members of the National Executive Committee, National Committee of the Young Communist League, led by Comrade Mzwandile Takudi. Wonderful message, Comrade Mzwandile. Even the President acknowledged that this message is substantial. Siyabonga. I have seen other leaders, members of the Young Communist League, including one renegade member, but I like him. This one, Comrade President, is a medical doctor by profession. He's the only party candidate that was not a member of the African National Congress. I failed to convince him to join. All others belong to the African National Congress. We need a special session to engage in further as well, Comrade President. He's here. They are all greeted. Of course, the Communist Party of Swaziland, Comrade Mangoba, who gave us a message, and the President of Tudemo from Swaziland, Comrade Mlungis Makanya, who's also present here, we express our sincere appreciation. The ambassadors of our revolutionary countries, not every country is here in our activities when we invite ambassadors. We have the ambassador of Venezuela here. I was boasting to him that my speech comes from a cover of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. I'll be traveling to Venezuela tomorrow, Comrade Ambassador, to join President Nicolas Maduro as we inaugurate him as the democratically elected president of Venezuela. From the elections that were observed by our own alliance, the Revolutionary Alliance, and the alliance gave them a thumbs up, free and fair elections. In any case, Venezuela runs the most democratic elections in the whole world. They have got more elections than any other country in the world. And all of them peaceful, great. And the system gives you results instant. So what imperialism is trying to do is something we don't understand. But we understand because of the resources in Venezuela. I'll talk to this particular question later on, that they want to continue to destabilize that particular country. We also have here, comrades, the representative of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the DPRK, North Korea, as they call it. It's one Korea is divided by imperialism. We've created North and South, and they put a buffer of military people, over 50,000 US soldiers located in that border to divide one country. But there's nothing they can do. That country's independent, DPRK. We appreciate your presence here, comrades. Most welcome. We are very much free when you are here. Of course, Comrade Bassam, the Deputy Ambassador of Venezuela, who gave us a message as well, we recognize him. But it's important, comrade, that we have indicated here that we have got special guests today as we commemorate this 30th anniversary since the death of Comrade Joe Slovo. We have the families of our fallen heroes, the family of Comrade Bani Mulukwan. They brought the picture here. Can that picture come to the front of Bani Mulukwan, of Linda Jabani? And the family of Bani Mulukwan can come here as well as the family of Comrade Kinsibia, and the family of Comrade Linda Jabani, and the family of Comrade Tsepo Simudi. Now, I want to say a few words about all of these comrades. Comrade Bani Mulukwane lies buried here in the Heroes Acre. He was one of our key leaders in the special operations, the commander of special operations, reporting directly to Joe Slovo. As we know, the many battles that he undertook against the apartheid regime. His memory, his sacrifice, by his own life, it's something that we, the Communist Party, shall never betray. Comrade Linda Jabani, that our Johannesburg district is named after, was commonly called the Lion of Shawela. Former President, your hometown. He fought the apartheid forces, almost 2 platoons. That's more than 60 police and soldiers of the apartheid regime for 4 hours, one cadre of the Liberation Army, Umkhonto weSizwe, Linda Jabani. This is our hero. And we recognize the family continuously. Tsepo Simudi was one of, we call him the fighting commissar. His unit infiltrated the headquarters of UNITA in Angola. 4th UNITA forces captured the base of UNITA. When they were calling for reinforcement from MK comrades and the Angolans, the Fapla forces said, no, it's not possible. How did you capture that? They said, no, we are here. He was among those combatants with Comrade ABC Shova, my late general. And of course, Comrade Dos Santos, at the time, was head of security in Angola, appreciated that achievement and recognized those comrades. That unit was given a special permit to be on holiday for a couple of weeks in Angola. So this is what the SABC and the media should be writing about Umkhonto weSizwe, the People's Liberation Army. Of course, these families, Comrade Kinsibia, just died a couple of months ago. Comrade Kinsibia, Comrade President, fought for the civic rights of our people. He was in the Soweto Committee of 10 with Comrade Tato Motlana, Mamu Ellen Kuzwai, and others. Recently, he was leading an NGO called Illuminate to Human Rights Foundation. We were fighting against evictions. He was working from the SACP headquarters, only getting a stipend, not a salary. This program led to the victory against the banks in South Africa, which were repossessing people's houses and selling them for 10 rand and 100 rand after they've repossessed them. Massive injustice. He took them to court, and ultimately he won this in the High Court in what we call the reserve price judgment. In this reserve price judgment, it means if the bank is evicting you from your house, they must sell that. If they succeed in evicting you, they must sell that house at the market price and take their debt and give you the remainder of the money. In the past, the banks used to evict you, sell the house at the market price, take everything, and you continue to owe them. So Comrade Kinsibia won that important victory for us and our people. We want to thank you. These are my special guests today. You are most welcome. And this Comrade Kinsibia's wife in the middle, she's not that well. And we want to, Comrade Bendeza, Dr. Bendeza, go and talk to her now, give her details. I want you to get other physicians and other medical doctors. From now on, we are handing her into your hands to look after her health. That's a medical doctor. We send him in Cuba. He will look after you, Mama. Siyabonga Batabani, from the families of our heroes, we appreciate you. We appreciate the sacrifices of your family members, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, and everybody who contributed to where we are today. We want to say to you, we will never forget you. And their memories will always be etched in our hearts until we have socialism in this country. That's the only true freedom a society can get. No bourgeois freedom that can guarantee the full rights of people. Otherwise, thank you very much. Now, having said that, comrades, let me first thank the President for arriving here today. Wait a minute, the President is giving you some shakes. Our media team, make sure that they are covered proper. I must also indicate, comrade, that I did inform the President about this. I also visited the family of Comrade Solomon Masango during this festive period. like Comrade Madala was given a feedback, we'll also process all the outcomes of the engagement with these families of our heroic guerrillas and fallen comrades. Siyabonga, Comrade President. Thank you very much for the generosity. Comrade, let me join Comrade Jacob Mamabulo in wishing you in particularly and the masses of our country a very healthy, prosperous and peaceful 2025. We believe that this year things will be better for the working class and our people. We also want to thank all workers, particularly those who were on duty as we are enjoying the festive period, despite the mess that capital has made of our economy. We still find time to celebrate as the working class. All sectors of society, from the taxi industry, the police, the traffic, the healthcare workers, the retail and hospitality sector workers, the entertainment workers and all sectors of our society, those who sacrifice their lives so that we can enjoy our festive period as South Africans. And indeed, having visited these many families of our heroic guerrillas and fighters and fallen cadres here in Soweto and also in Mamelodi and other parts of the country, we will be doing so throughout the 30th anniversary of Comrade Joe Slovo, who was Chief of Staff of our Mkondo Wesizwe. Yes, indeed, Comrade Joe Slovo, Comrade President, you spoke at length about him. I'll jump some of the questions so that we don't repeat. But it's important to indicate that Joe Slovo was not just a key leader of our movement, was a special cadre who understood the general principles of frank politics. We'll speak briefly about this question, particularly when the ANC developed, after a visit to Vietnam, they developed the Green Book. And he was actually one of the drafters of the report from Vietnam in what is called the Green Book. The Green Book that articulated the general strategy of the democratic revolutionary forces in our country, particularly about intensification of mass mobilization and making the apartheid regime ungovernable, and other strategies, the interrelationship between the military and the political and mass struggles. So Joe Slovo articulated that quite well. At the same time, comrades, when we're visiting some of these families of our departed comrades, we found that majority of them still live in poverty. Comrade Madala went at length to explain this. I just want to indicate that, yes, we have the Department of Military Veterans that is moving at slow pace to look at the interests of former fighters, liberation fighters, both from Mkondo Wesizwe, as well as from other liberation armies. The manner in which these fighters who were prepared to die for our country have been looked at leaves much to be desired, particularly when government has allocated some resources. So there must be special attention to this matter, Comrade President, so that our comrades can be looked after together with their families. But Comrade Slovo dedicated his entire life to the democratic anti-imperialist revolutionary struggle of the people's liberation for a non-racial, democratic and peaceful South Africa that is equal across all sectors of society, egalitarian in terms of the ownership of wealth. In other words, where you could not see the difference between the rich and the poor in a country. That's what Comrade Joe Slovo fought for. Of course, he was inspired by Marxism-Leninism. And as he died on the 6th of January 1995, I personally was in the military base in Valmansdal. The Boer commanders refused us to come and bury him. I told him, I went to see the brigadier in charge. I said, if you refuse, know that I am going to his funeral. I came to his funeral from the military base. And that engagement led to the base allowing comrades to leave to come and bury Comrade Joe Slovo. They were doing it deliberately, the white military races. But born as Joseph Marshal Slovo on the 23rd of May 1926 in Obelay, Lithuania, Slovo's journey to South Africa began at the age of 9. And this, will, of course, will mark the beginning of his lifelong commitment to the working class and its struggles. Of course, here in South Africa, being a white person had many privileges accorded to all white people. But he came from a poor family. He started working, for instance, at the age of 16, at a warehouse, where he made the trade union movement, and actually became a trade unionist, and later on even a shop steward, and even led a strike. It was when he was leading the strike that the response of the management was to favor only white workers, that he decided to take further the struggle for inclusivity at that very young age. Of course, he will later live to join the army in the war, the Second World War, in the war against imperialism and against fascism. And this, of course, working in the factory floor, widened his deep understanding and connection between the national oppression and class exploitation, and to understand the source of all oppression, which is capitalism. He became a key leader, as Comrade President indicated, of our movement across the board. But when we speak about Joe Slovo, we cannot do so as communists. This is the most important task that we need to do even in our communities. We don't just talk politics without analyzing the condition of the people in that particular community. That's where we derive our program. Our program is derived from the condition of the working class, from the condition of the people. So party structures, branches, your task is not much to follow leaders. It's to analyze the living conditions on the ground and to respond to those conditions, to change them for the better, so that the people can live better. We are in a country that, for instance, many will say if Slovo was alive, he will use the same Marxist tools of analysis, the same tools that were imparted to the rest of the liberation movement, to understand society and how to resolve the problems of society. One of the current problems is that when we look at aggregate achievement of our liberation struggle, we always say this as the Communist Party. We are grateful for the achievement the liberation movement has made in this country. And we hope our people can also be more grateful, particularly the middle strata. At the same time, we are aware about the reversals that are taking place at a strategic level. The reversals that make this achievement minuscule. The reversal in which majority of our people live in poverty. Majority of our people can't afford just basic foodstuff on a daily basis in a country that is practically the richest on the African continent. Leave this debasing of the economy by Nigeria and even Egypt. The issue is that we are also the most industrialized economy on the African continent. Yet, our people survive on less than 2.15 rand, $2.15 a day, which is equivalent to 18 rand 78 cents as of recent. Now, no one can survive on this, particularly with the high cost of living in society. driven by factors beyond our control, driven by the imperialist USA, because the US, Comrade President, one thing that all people in government must appreciate is the fact that we never should compare how we run our economy with that of the United States. The United States runs the economy by corporations. They don't even have SOEs, state-owned entities. Even in the defense sector, they don't have. They just capture a corporation, give it money, like Lockheed Martin, that makes their fighter planes and everything else. They give it money for research and development and everything else, and say, you don't sell to anybody except to us. You only sell to somebody when we want you to do so. So they have no interest of society at heart as a system. The system is not meant for society. It's meant for corporations. And the corporations are, the state is just a mere procurer of services. In our case, it's different. We're an underdeveloped country. Siyawafuna lama SOEs are developing those zohlala. So that, for instance, take for instance, electrification of our country by ESCOM. It would not have been possible if we were in the US, because everyone will still have to go and buy on a private basis electrification of their houses. Before I came back from outside, Comrade President, you visited us in our camp one day. When I left the country, my family could not afford to pull electricity into the house. But the next door neighbor who ran a tavern had. Now with the state capacity, we rolled out electrification across the country. So that system must remain, and in other areas as well. We also need innovation and create appropriate entities. For instance, in this country, where we have got so much sea, we still do not have state control of fisheries, except by legislation. We can't feed our people protein, our children protein in the inland, because the entire fish industry is left to private capital. The state must play a role if we are to deal with poverty and innovate and enter those spaces and not leave everything to capital. Because capital doesn't care for the people except for profit for themselves. At the same time, Comrade President, the working class is living under a super burden of exploitation by capital. The state that you lead cannot observe the hardening conditions of the workers and the people of our country. So that is why, for instance, the state must find a mechanism to discipline capital, to take charge of the affairs of society. I'll speak at length later on about this particular question. But here it indicates that the exploitation of the people by capital continues unabated, almost at the same level as that of the United States. And yet, the United States is one of the most developed countries in the world in terms of infrastructure, resources, and everything else. So it is in this regard that we have to build the capacity of the state, to build public economy, and for the state to lead interventions on behalf of the people. These capitalist corporations do not account to anybody, and yet they want to play a major role in determining the policy of government. It is in this regard that we have also seen the working class living under situation of crime, a crime that has gone out of control. The principal driver, Comrade President, of crime in society, the principal, not only, but the main and principal driver of crime in society is capitalism. In the capitalist capitals like Europe, they counter that by making sure that every single street is monitored by the security police. That's why there's peace in Europe in terms of general crime. But in our case, where we have no such capabilities, crime becomes a crisis, particularly for women and children in our society. But the source of it is capitalism. So the state has to find a way in which it disciplines capital so that all the social ills that capital creates and it doesn't take responsibility for. The state can't just take responsibility on behalf of some institution or some entity that creates problems for society. Of course, comrades, we have therefore to create programs on our own and not say we will wait for the defeat of capitalism before we defeat crime and before we defeat gender-based violence. We need to fight gender-based violence, correct people who are doing wrong to others in our communities by reorganizing ourselves. That is why one of the things that, as I recognize Comrade Banyaza, we've got crime wardens here amongst us. Comrade President, the communities are beginning to enjoy life in our townships here in Gauteng. When I visited the family of Comrade Kinsibia after his passing, just after we parked 2 cars, 2 crime wardens just arrived from Norway. They want to see that where we are going, the community is safe. But when Comrade Banyaza launches this program, who's the first person to attack him? The DA. They say you won't have the money to do it. Stop this particular program. Because they want us to have our communities unsafe and the ANC to be seen as failure. So it is in this regard that we have supported this initiative by Comrade Banyaza. And we are saying other provinces can learn from this important example. And one thing that also Comrade Banyaza has done was to integrate former liberation veterans from across the board to join in the fight against crime as crime wardens in our communities. But comrades, taking a cue from Joe Slovo, learning from him, Comrade President, we know the role that he played, which was vital in the resistance against apartheid. His brilliance and theoretical clarity and contributions that shaped our revolutionary movement and its path. Particularly, for instance, in his seminal work, the South African Working Class and the National Democratic Revolution, he further elaborated the inseparable bond between national liberation and class struggle, and argued that the defeat of apartheid was only the first step towards the social transformation of society. And his commitment to gender equality was equally revolutionary. He equally appreciated that the source of unequal power relations in society is capitalism. Even patriarchy itself, the essence of patriarchy, is a product of capitalism. In other words, the unequal power relations between men and women is a fundamental product of capitalism. So that is why even in Europe, the most, or in America, wherever, these countries with over 200 years of liberation, they still have women oppressed because of the capitalist system that they are pursuing in those countries. Of course, Comrade President, when we look at the current problems that we are confronted with as the African Communist Party, including the challenges facing our revolution, we always summon the will of the people like Joe Slovo, their intellectual capabilities, because we learn from the same pot. Let me just say this. I was saying to Comrade Dada, we will find time to talk. But I want to address from this podium the comrades who are leading the municipality in Civic, in the Val. Comrade President, if you ask your team to drive you to Subuken today, you will be shocked by the deterioration of that particular township. It's led by our comrades. It's unacceptable. Whatever, it doesn't matter which route you use. It's not passable. It's not, you can't enter Subuken proper. It has been like that for the past 6 years. Now, these are the conditions that are afflicting even other municipalities across the board in our country. At the same time, we now have a Minister of Copter saying he's going to cut public works programs. that were a major intervention to alleviate the crisis in our local municipalities. We are opposed to that fundamentally as a Communist Party. We'll say something about this question later on in the main issue. But of course, Comrade President, we have seen both progress and regression. In other words, progress and reversals in economic development of our country. In economic terms, we can say that progress has been very slow and even reversing, largely because the democratic state is gradually withdrawing from the economy in favor of private capital. This has led to stagnation in the lives of our people. We have characterized, Comrade President, in joining Comrade Slovo on theorizing the moment to appreciate what we call the national grievance of South Africa today. We characterize that as lack of change for the majority of our people. In other words, lack of economic change has now become a major national grievance of our people. That's a new analysis from South African Communist Party. We are joining Lengalaka Joe Slovo. In this regard, Comrade President, there are many factors leading to this. Part of colonial factors, apartheid oppression, capitalist domination of the economy, and their ruthless exploitation of the workers and so forth. But fundamentally, the neoliberal policy that is pursued by government. This gives imperialist forces stranglehold on our economy. And we believe that, Comrade President, imperialism today is undergoing a terminal period of crisis. Amanye amazwe, imperialism iyahlikizeka. Iyashwa nthena yamakapitali lefatshe ka bophara. So when imperialism is disintegrating, we should not be strengthening it. We have seen, for instance, the significant role, just the point that we appreciated, and I also told you this personally, the position you took on Israel as South African government in support of the Palestinian people and revolution. That position brought huge changes across the world. It shook the world powers. You know, when we took that decision, I said, this is our president. We want you to take such decisions on economic changes, on the living conditions of our people. A position of similar nature. You can do it, Comrade President. You will have our support when we do this and take over the economy. You cannot preside as president over a poor people. And capital amasses all the riches of our country for themselves and not for the majority of our people. So it is in this regard that when we look at the economic exclusion of the majority, the ownership of and control of the economy in our country remains dominated by a tiny capitalist minority who are largely white and male. You know, we're talking about Joe Slovo, that this white capitalist also hated. They hated him because he was a revolutionary and because he was a communist. But he was a non-racial, he had a non-racial character. He fought for all humanity. That is why he was disgusted after he led the trade union strike, only to find that white workers benefited more than black workers. So when we say and point out the fact that capital today remains in the hands of a white minority who are recalcitrant to change, who do not want to change, they say we are racist. We cannot be racist for pointing out the problems in society. Even that if that problem particularly is racial. We have always appreciated as South African Communist Party, through our analysis of colonialism of a special time, that fundamental one of our problems in South Africa is a racial problem. It's equally a gender problem, patriarchal problem, as well as a capitalist problem. All of these problems, Comrade President, have not been fundamentally resolved. That is why we have to act with speed as a movement to deal with domestic capital, particularly that continues the legacy of colonialism and apartheid build on super exploitation of the majority of our people and continue to oppress the majority in our country. The people cannot enjoy freedom when they are oppressed like this. It is in this regard, Comrade President, that we must appreciate that capitalism itself generates these inequalities that we talk about, including poverty and unemployment in our society. The democratic state cannot resolve these matters unless it confronts capital. So in other words, you see, we follow the United States in many instances at the level of policy on how they take decisions. We even are saying that the United States is democratic. Those guys, they are not democratic. Just a couple of days ago, Biden, the president of the US, on the 2nd of January, he signed some decrees. For instance, stopping the Japanese company to buy Nippon Steel in the US. He stopped this deal. It's a multi-billion dollar investment program. He stops it because he says, no, this is going to make America subservient to Japan on steel. Despite that, these are capitalist countries. So he has the decree to do certain things. When he stops this deal, already processed and finalized, it's a deal in the private sector. He interferes and stops the deal. So the American president leads by decrees. There's no democracy there. In our case, we don't have those decrees. The capacity that we have is the voting majority of our people. And when they have given us that mandate, we must effectively utilize that mandate. Here is another analysis, Comrade President. This analysis, I will read it in full. I will not talk to it. This analysis talks to the structural injustices that have shaped not only but a historical and ongoing class struggle in our country, which have deep racial and gender dimensions, and have further entrenched the economic and social oppression of the majority by a minority in race, class, and gender dimensions. This, Comrade President, has led to the situation where the political will of the political class, if you like, I use this thing for the media purposes, not as an ideological orientation. The political class have to understand that this situation facing our people have to be reversed. You cannot do it if the people who are joining you in government, their intention is to decapitate, to destroy the working class. The Minister of Basic Education, they are retrenching 2,400 teachers in the Western Cape, just one province. They are not retrenching this from model C schools, if you like. These are schools that are largely in the suburbs. They are retrenching this in the working class communities. There's going to be a huge devastation on this. The same as this retrenchment of workers above 50 or 55. Let's take it as the Communist Party, Comrade President. Every South African worker deserves the right to work. This is articulated fully in the Freedom Charter. And we should not accept any government, and I'll talk to you about this in private. There's another minister that I know and said to some of the comrades in senior management that we are cutting them off above 55 from within the ranks of the movement. We should not be accepting that kind of a thing as a movement committed to job creation and employment. So it is in this regard that, for instance, this situation can be reversed with a political will and not weak reasons why things cannot be done differently. But comrades, the difficult situations will be normalized and continue and not be reversed. If South African politics remain detached from society, driven by the aloofness of the political elites who have become compradorial. By compradorial we mean working for foreign interests through domestic capital, by embedding their interest. So it's a situation where political elites grab political power and use it for tenders and deals with international capital and never look for the interest of the masses as a whole. This analysis, Comrade President, is deep for us, and we think it's a major crisis facing the liberation movement today. Comrade Slovo, for instance, when we join in further, we will say the political elite in this country has stolen the people's politics and the political dividend of democracy in our country. I use this question to be relevant to the media in terms of understanding what we are talking about. The political dividend in this country is being stolen by the political elite, and this has generated a strong public resentment to politics and political participation, as demonstrated in the recent elections by our people. Of course, the political elite themselves have further surrendered politics to capital and to use political office through the bourgeois policies of neoliberalism to impose more capitalism. In this regard, we can never resolve problems of society. Yes. It is in this regard, Comrade President, that monopoly capital for us as the Communist Party remains the primary source of the problem, and we must deal with it. If we allow it to dominate, as it is the case now, that it is almost taking responsibility for politics in our country, responsibility for economic direction, they pronounce it the way they want, they don't respect the fact that we've got a democratically elected government. We will lose relevance in political office as a liberation movement. And this worrying situation, Comrade President, of excluding the majority from the role in the economy and its economic dividends stands in direct contradiction to the national imperative of transforming South Africa into a truly non-racial, non-sexist society and our democracy. You can see even here, we are celebrating Comrade Joe Slovo, a white revolutionary. We cannot attract enough young white persons. Where is the white youth, for instance? So this is a question that we also need to ask ourselves. As we are constructing this society on a non-racial basis, we seem to be the only ones committed to this task. Others are not committed to it. So we need to question ourselves and to rebuild ourselves in the name of Comrade Joe Slovo, to build our non-racial character as a liberation movement. But Slovo has always affirmed the superiority of socialism over the barbarism of capitalism. That he never failed to do. It is in this regard that when he wrote his seminal piece, As Socialism Failed, he confronted challenges faced by the socialist movement worldwide, particularly after the fall of the Soviet Union. But he called, in the same breath, a fundamental return to the principles of and foundations of Marxism-Leninism, and his vision for a non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic society towards socialism remains steadfast in our case. Today, Comrade President, the biggest crisis we face in our society, economic crisis, is that capitalism, which is the primary problem, has now captured the economic ideology of government. And when we say this, Comrade President, is not personal, but capital driving the ideology of neoliberalism, which says, because neoliberalism's function is that you don't need a state per se, you need corporations. That is why they don't see any problem to cut jobs when the movement is committed to job creation. One of the manifestos of the African National Congress, the previous one, was even talking about employing almost 50,000 community development workers and healthcare workers in our communities, particularly in preparation to roll out the national health insurance. But neoliberal forces are hell-bent to reverse this trajectory because for them, that's not profitable. For us, capital also says in many instances, they will tell you that we invest in our people. Our most investment is our people. When they they lie. They only need the skills of the people to make them more profit. The state, the public sector, must truly invest in the people. And investment in the people is to guarantee people's health and to guarantee them jobs. Therefore, we need to deal with neoliberal structural reform ideology that is now characterizing key thinking within government, particularly now with the GNU that includes the reactionary DA, a party opposed to the National Democratic Revolution and even to socialism. While this direction is not new, Comrade President, and we've always been opposing it, particularly this of the ideological position of the DA, it is important to indicate that essentially the elite factory is not going to take this country any forward. That is why when we became agitated as the Communist Party, and I think one other thing, Comrade President, is that leaders of the alliance have to get used to how I speak. I speak like this all the time when I get into the podium. It's not anger, Comrade President. On my part, just so that you know. Capital, the DA in particular, its main intentions, they have never hidden it, Comrade President. They continue to say it in many respects. We monitor them every single day. They say their mission remains to destroy the African National Congress. Now, we are simply saying, you know, when Oliver Tambo gave our comrades in Frelimo a message through Samora Machel when they were engaging with the apartheid regime towards signing the Nkomati Accord, he said to the ANC, to Samora Machel and the Frelimo comrades, please don't hug the hyena, because the hyena eats you and your bones. They finish you off. The DA and other forces that we are hugging in the GNU are hyenas that are going to finish us off as a movement. That is why, politically, just as the year starts, they begin to regurgitate, to rebuild themselves, to say they must meet again the forces of the Moonshot Pact. They are preparing themselves on how to weaken us further. We in the South African Communist Party will not allow our movement to be destroyed by reactionary forces and we sit down and do nothing about it. We will fight them to the tilt. Therefore, we fully reject neoliberalism in its entirety. And we also believe that we have mechanism to make interventions, both from a perspective of fiscal policy, which is the finance policy, and from a perspective of monetary policy, which is the money policy driven by the Reserve Bank. The positions that are there were taken by individuals. We can also change them as a liberation movement. In that way, we can have the levers of finance in our hands. We can create systems of finance in our hands that can respond to the challenges facing our people. Not only leave that to the existing economy without interfering with it. And therefore, we continue to support the rolling out of the National Health Insurance, as well as the rolling out of the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. And this one, we are going to pay special attention to Minister Warube, because she has said, according to the DA, they want her to roll out all these regulations for as far as possible. We are even prepared to take her to court for speedy implementation of this Better Act that we have signed, and we appreciate that you went ahead and signed it. We must indicate, Comrade President, we were unhappy when we were feeling that you were having the pressure without talking to us and giving these reactionary forces more time. Now that you have signed it, she must lead in the implementation of this and not stymie this thing through regulations. We also believe, Comrade President, that COPTA must stop this program to retrench workers, particularly taking away over 225,000 community work program, workers who are in this work program. This will have devastating impact on our communities currently who do not have enough income, or majority do not even have income. We say this will be a callous betrayal of the ANC's own manifesto, supported by the allies in the recent 2024 May elections. Because that manifesto spoke about creating 2.4 million work opportunities through public employment programs. So this is a critical program. But the people in government that we are colluding with are seeking to reverse all of these interventions. We also are calling, comrades, that instead of having this retrenchment, we must create capabilities to create more jobs through the state. The state, Comrade President, part of the national dialogue that we'll be participating in as a Communist Party is to call for the government to open the dialogue about the national debt of the country, so that we can use the resources that we have to create jobs and make people to meet their own livelihoods. Towards conclusion, Comrade President, and all of you comrades, we are dealing with the question of the working class representation, the crisis of the working class representation in our country. This question relates to the state of our economy, the state of our people, as well as the crisis that the working class finds itself in. It is in this regard that the Communist Party decided to participate in the coming local government elections in 2026. This task, comrades, is not the intention to weaken any force of the alliance. On the contrary, our intention is to strengthen the alliance. Yes, in order to strengthen the alliance, we cannot be outside observers when the situation is getting bad and very bad for our people. So we are entering this space. We are not the enemies of the African National Congress. I just highlighted to you, we only have one member, my dear Dr. Bengeza, the only one who's not a member of the African National Congress. So the dual membership continues. We are not ending the alliance. What we are simply saying is that the political landscape necessitates that in order to defend the National Democratic Revolution and to regain the strength as a revolution, to confront capital, to bring back the economy to the hands of the people, the Communist Party has to strengthen our allies through standing on our own. This is very important, Comrade President, because at the same time, you know, we've had the discussion for over 22 years on our efforts to achieve reconfiguration of the alliance. This has not happened. We've been patient enough, Comrade President, on this matter. We think we can strengthen and reconfigure the alliance practically. Today, if truth be told, Comrade President, you know it very well. You know executive authority. In terms of influence on government, the DA has more influence than the Communist Party. They have direct representation in cabinet. We don't have. So that's the difference. Yes, we don't have, in a sense, we have got comrades who are members of the Communist Party who are in cabinet through the direction of the African National Congress. None of them takes responsibility and accountability from us. Not a single one. So we have given our own to the movement. What more sacrifice can we do? We have done that. When we realize that now this sacrifice is disadvantaging our people, we have to find a new mechanism in which we can change the living conditions of our people. We are not interested in many other things. Myself in particular, I have put it up clearly. I do not want any position in government. We are not doing this because we want positions in government. No. We want to change the living conditions of the masses on the ground for the better. We want to tackle capital. We want to force the state to make the state see that it can tackle capital and serve the people wholeheartedly. Not just to come and be in office and live in office. No, it shouldn't work like that. It is in this regard, comrade, that when we are exercising our independence as a Communist Party, Comrade Duncan spoke about this question. I won't go into the detail. We are an independent organization. We are interdependent as well as the allies. I fully agree with you, Comrade President. We need the alliance. I told you at one point, many of my comrades, I've got a comrade here from the Central Committee. He's from Mkonto Sizwe, Comrade Debo Kopadi. He's one of our lead drafters. I always say to him, Comrade Tegza, the problem with you is that you think you are in an MK camp. Even when you are drafting for the Communist Party, you draft from the perspective of the African National Congress. No, now we are drafting from a communist perspective. We trained him in the Soviet Union. He's clear on that as well. Make no mistake. He's one of our brilliant intellectuals. The economy, what he calls, we can bring any other economist. They can't contest him on ideas. Practical ideas on how to improve our communities. We are working with him and other communities to make our communities self-reliant. This program of self-reliance of our communities, comrades, it's a task of all party structures. It's not a task of the Central Committee alone or Comrade Tebu. People must not say if Tebu has not arrived with this program in their communities, they can't roll out this program. We are working on this program in our townships, in the villages, to make sure that our people are self-reliant. That's one fundamental task of the revolution. The revolution must not shift people into the hands of capital that further exploit them. It must save them from exploitation by capital. Of course, comrades, we need to build a part of the working class, a strong part of the working class, in order for us to participate effectively in the 2026 local government elections. These elections, comrades, many are pitting us against the African National Congress. Even some inside the Communist Party are getting confused. No, we are contesting political power of society. We have just indicated the crisis of representation of the working class in governance, because majority of the people stayed away from the elections than those who participated in the elections. So we are entering that space clearly as a Communist Party. We do not want opportunists who will be moving from one area to the other, dividing our movement in the name of the Communist Party. We are participating in these elections independently for the working class, not for our own jackets. That's how it's going to be. We will shape South African politics differently. The march to socialism is now starting in earnest. This march is unmitigated. In other words, it's as clear as the daylight. We are on a war path. We have launched a mass battle against capital. And if the state and the democratic state aligns itself with capital, it will fight against itself, against the masses. That is why rudimentary objects of democracy will be created in our communities, Comrade President. We are starting one, which we hope one day, when it's possible, you will find the possibility to go in Tegezwe, where President Mandela once lived, to start a rudimentary concept of people's power, wherein constitutional democracy and people's democracy are allied and the people can look after themselves. Because there's been a new stage of extortion, where a criminal gang has gone amok, it's raping women and children, and people have even abandoned their houses. So we cannot accept that thing in a situation where democracy, under democracy, the only thing we say you must respond to is to say, go and report it to the police. We are rebuilding rudimentary structures of people's power to fight people's democracy on the ground. This will be part and parcel of how we are going to rebuild local governments, for instance. But of course, in this regard, we'll be building popular power of the masses and building more broad fronts and community fronts in our realities. Of course, in this regard, comrades, we are also integrated with the international situation. We want to say a few words in this regard. The first is that we want to call on the United States of America to end its illegal blockade of Cuba and the occupation of Guantanamo Bay, and to remove Cuba from the so-called list of countries sponsoring terrorism. How is it possible that Cuba can sponsor terrorism? Only the US that compiles this list unilaterally, without any democratic or multilateral mandate, say so. It is a pretext to maintain, for instance, imperialist aggression, including continued illegal sanctions against Cuba outside the framework of the United Nations. We are saying to the USA they must stop undermining the United Nations itself and start implementing resolutions of the UN that they always oppose but are supported overwhelmingly by majority countries to end the illegal blockade on Cuba. We continue to condemn the imperialist regime of the United States on how it makes the people of Cuba to suffer for the choice of socialism, as they do with the people of North Korea for their choice of socialism. We strongly denounce equally the autocratic regime of Swaziland for its continued human rights violation and repression of democracy and communist activists. And in this regard, we pledge our solidarity with the oppressed people of Swaziland and the people of Swaziland, and make the call for democratization to take place and for the release of political prisoners and the return of political exiles and transition to democracy. At the same time, we are also highlighting the sufferings by the people of Western Sahara under Morocco's occupation. They are having a massive hardship, and their hardship, which is quite immense, is compounded by the complicity of imperialist forces like France and Spain. Together with Morocco, these two countries want to stop at nothing to maintain their oppression and control and the dispossession of the resources of the people of Western Sahara. We say they must stop the exploitation of the natural resources of Western Sahara and its political economy. And equally, we call for our people to extend a hand of friendship, including the South African government, with the people of Sudan, who are in a war because of elite interests to control the wealth of that particular society. We equally call for the immediate end to this war in Sudan, which is disproportionately affecting women and children, and majority of the people are now displaced, including men. We also, as the SACP, reaffirm our solidarity with Frelimo movement in Mozambique and the people of Mozambique. Once again, we congratulate Frelimo on their recent electoral victory in Mozambique. We strongly condemn any attempt to destabilize Mozambique. Imperialist-backed forces are often involved in such destabilization. Even this chap of Podemos in Mozambique, who's creating himself an independent, at one point is not independent, this chap. He's literally a reactionary, comes from Renamo. So we must decode him fully. At one point he was a candidate of Renamo, a reactionary force that colluded with imperialists for the oppression of the people of Mozambique. So while we respect the people of Mozambique to resolve their internal problems, our solidarity with the people of Mozambique and Frelimo in particular remains unwavering. We equally congratulate our comrades in Namibia of SWAPO for their electoral victory, and we express our ongoing support towards fundamental change in Namibia. We also welcome the shift towards the left in Botswana with the Umbrella for Democratic Change's victory. The Umbrella for Democratic Change is an alliance inclusive of, among others, the Botswana National Front, which is our ally. We welcome the recent announcement by the newly elected president of Botswana, Comrade Maboko, of progressive policies on poverty reduction in that diamond-rich country. We wish him well in his tenure as the president of Botswana. We also want to pledge our solidarity with the Sahel region in their struggle for full independence from France and imperialist domination. This must be viewed, Comrade President and others, all of you, comrades, as part of the second phase of the African Revolution. What is happening in the Sahel region? Imperialism is disintegrating. Even recently in Senegal and the Ivory Coast, the French were now leaving that territory because they were controlling it, including controlling its military. The African countries have never really tasted independence. We have now reached a stage where we cannot accept imperialism to continue to treat us in this way. We stand equally in solidarity with the people of Venezuela, the people of Nicaragua and Bolivia and others in Latin America against U.S. imperialist aggression. We support and will be represented at the inauguration of President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela in the next few days. We equally want to condemn the interference by the U.S. government and the attempt to destabilize Venezuela because of the U.S. policy of regime change. Our solidarity with the people of Palestine remains firm against apartheid Israel settler regime's occupation and genocide. And we stand with the axis of resistance across the Middle East against Israeli aggression and U.S. imperialism. We also, comrades, want to express our continued solidarity, a firm one for that matter, with the people of Palestine for the freedom of historic Palestine and against the expropriation of Palestinian land by the occupying apartheid Israeli regime. Together with its autocratic imperialist beggar, the U.S., the apartheid Israeli settler regime wants to stop at nothing to maintain its oppression of the Palestinian people and exploit their land and natural resources, especially, including offshore gases resources. That is offshore gas resources. We equally call for the release of Dr. Wissam Abu Safia, director of Kamal Adwan Hospital in Gaza, which was the only remaining functioning hospital in Gaza, has been bombed by the apartheid Israeli regime. Of course, we are calling on solidarity of our people, the people of South African people, and particularly from Communist Party members and our liberation movement, with the people of Yemen, who are equally under bombardment from the United States of America and from Israel. They are destroying Sana'a and the country of Yemen on the basis of its own independence. We are pledging our solidarity with the people of Yemen, as we continue to do with the people of Syria and Lebanon in their fight against foreign occupation and terrorism. And we call on the world working class and progressive forces to strengthen the rising multipolar movement for a just, peaceful world order free from imperialist oppression. We welcome equally the rise of China as a significant force in global multipolar world system to create a just world order system. This is very important for us and for progressive forces. Equally, the Russian anti-imperialist response in the war provoked by NATO countries in Ukraine is another vital indicator of the shift towards global multipolarity. Even just a few weeks ago, Secretary of State of the U.S. Blinken admitted in public that the Americans sent armaments, missiles, and everything 5 months before the special military operation of Russia into Ukraine, to prepare Ukraine to attack Russia and to keep this war going for as long as they want. So we're saying the emperor is naked and has been exposed, the emperor of the USA. Russia, on the one hand, has demonstrated its capability to stand out against the US-led imperialist collective West. Yes, it is the US-led imperialist collective West that provoked this war in Ukraine, through, among others, a coup, a movement towards its expansion, as well as targeting ultimately China. This emerged as part of the imperialist agenda to build a totalitarian control of the global resources and the economy. And I think in closing, comrades, from our own Congress, we have outlined some key tasks for all our members. The most immediate task of the working class today is to free itself from the cocoon of compradorial politics characterized by elite-driven representative democracy. In other ways, we are now entering a platform of building people's democracy. We need to embrace the agenda for transformative change of our material living condition for the better by freeing also our own revolution from the cocoon of colonial entrapment development trajectory. In other ways, we need to resolve the national grievance today, which is to drive change to improve the lives of our people. That is to drive economic change. In doing so, we must tackle capital head on. It is in this regard, comrades, that also when we participate in this national dialogue, we must shape it and not allow capital to go and shape the national dialogue and then give us a project that the working class did not shape. We'll be actively involved in shaping this national dialogue engagement on the ground. And we call on our branches to refine their strategies to implement our program, the South African Struggle for Socialism, and to prepare ourselves for effective participation in the coming local government elections. All our members must embrace organizational renewal framework of the Communist Party. Its three pillars is serve the struggle, serve the people first, serve the revolution first, serve the Communist Party first. So in other words, selfless service to the people is the key theme of our task going forward. We must build party structures in all communities to safeguard the interests of the working class and to give strength to the struggle for self-reliance of our community. The revolution, comrades, belongs to the people, and they are the ultimate barometer if that revolution is working or not. We shall be judged by our deeds on the ground, and ours is to build socialism on the ground. As we said, it is either socialism or barbarism. It is in this regard that we are going to make sure that our revolution is fully defended and is on a correct trajectory. We are not in any way seeking to weaken the revolutionary forces, but on the contrary, to strengthen them. Amanda! Long live the alliance, long live! Forward to socialism, forward! Thank you very much, comrade.
Amandla! Amandla! Skokele mapaila skokele! Skokele mapaila skokele! Thank you very much to the General Secretary. The message is very clear. We are building the organs of people's power. We will protect the community. Sibone wenza i-development program. Ungathi sizobela ugovernment uzosiza sesiqalile or sizosebenza naye. Comrades, is very clear the message. Injalo ubumpofu ungabi nemisebenzi are the major problems. Comrade Manda, co-chair, you are taking over to direct us. Comrades, can we request you to clear there? Comrades, please.
Amanda, comrades, this is the list I'm going to read for the comrades who we are asking to help us with the read. The General Secretary, Comrade Solima Paila, will be in the front with the President, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa. So if they can please come towards the front. They will be followed by the following comrades. Comrades Duncan Luvuno and Comrade Joyce Muloi Murupa will be in the list.
I hope comrades are listening. Those comrades who will be doing the read.
High stage,
Is it crossing?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So, Comrade B, Comrade Nico, tell me when you are ready because I want to call the list. So, can we ask the GS to take the first read, followed by the President? Can we ask Comrade Duncan Luvuno and Comrade Joyce Muloi Murupa to receive a single wreath?
Sorry.
Sure. Let me sing single wreath. Comrade David Masondo and Comrade Zwandile Takudi. Comrade Second TGS. Comrade Nombeko Daniel and Comrade Mohammed from the Embassy of Sahrawi.
Okay.
Comrade Nombeko and Comrade Mohammed from the Embassy. Sahrawi Embassy. Comrade Ambassador Carlos from the Venezuela, together with Comrade Pasim from Palestine. Comrade Carlos and Comrade Pasim together. Comrade John, the first secretary of the Embassy of Korea, together with Comrade Jacob Mamamulu. Comrade John, the first secretary from the Korean Embassy. Is Comrade John still here? Comrade Nomantu. Comrade Nomantu Rally Huku, together with Comrade Bichisa. Comrade Nomantu, are you still here? Comrade Bichisa. Comrade Tada and Comrade Poli Michelo. Comrade Tada and Comrade Poli. Comrade Judas Lesi. Comrade Judas Lesi. Together with Comrade James Raila. The next one, Comrade Jenny. The next one, Comrade Jenny. Comrade Jenny will be joined by Comrade Kevu Khopaju. Comrade Jenny and Comrade Kevu Khopaju, you are going to take the last read.
Mama Winnie Made.
And Comrade, every second time we are going to take the last item on the agenda, which is the vote of thanks, which will also have some few announcements in it.
Comrades, if we can just settle down, just one more last item, which is a vote of thanks. It will be a very quick item. We are done now with the name process. We are now moving to the vote of thanks. Comrade Kosi, Baba, so the provincial treasurer of the SACP.
Thank you very much, Comrade Directors, Comrade Deputy National Chairperson, Comrade Mercy, Comrade Provincial Chairperson, Comrade Professor Mandakatere. Let me also, on behalf of the Provincial Executive Committee of Malkay, take this opportunity to thank our General Secretary, Comrade Mapaila, with all the Central Committee members, inclusive of the provincial secretaries that are coming from other provinces, with Pumalanga, with Limpopo, and others that we didn't see.